Hey guys, how's it going? So, today I figured we could stream some Genshin. I realized, actually, I hadn't streamed Genshin since before I went on my big break. And I'd initially thought about streaming 4.3, but on that patch there wasn't a whole lot I would have streamed except maybe the Navia character quest, which was good. But today I figured we could stream the new Cloud Retainer slash Xianyun character quest, because I actually think it'll be really interesting. And then we do have a world quest that we might do part of, wherever it went. Yeah, for the Xianyun Vale. I don't know if we'll do the entire thing, because with the world quests, I feel like you never know if it's going to be like an hour long, or if it's going to be like the R&R world quest, which, I would not have streamed the entirety of that world quest, even if someone paid me. That thing was so long. It was interesting, but it was long. But, other than that, figured we could just explore the new area. I'm interested to see what they add. I talked about this when I made a video about, like, you know, just some of the videos about upcoming Genshin characters and such. Well, potential Genshin characters from Honkai Impact 3rd. But, in general, they keep adding these kind of expansions to other areas. Liyue has been the one that's gotten it the most. Whereas Inazuma, you know, we got some extra islands. I do think eventually we will get a branch northward of Mondstadt, I believe is what people have predicted. Especially since we know Varga had gone north at some point in his expedition. But I'm interested to see. I did actually go ahead and poll on Cloud Retainer, or Xianyun, I guess is what she'll be known as. I think the voice lines are funny, because pretty much everyone guessed immediately who she was. Ningguang knew, all the Adeptus obviously knew. I think there's a really cute line from Yao Yao, where she said Xianyun came to talk to her master, and introduced herself as Xianyun, but she said she knew immediately. But I think she's supposed to be pretty good with adventures, and I'm curious to try her out. I just have a lot of wishes saved up because I'm a Woken Battle Pass player, and I pulled on, like, no one. In the entirety of Sumeru, I pulled only on, I think I got Dea off a Lost 50/50, actually. I can't remember, but basically just Nahida and Dea. So, I'm excited for upcoming characters, though. I don't know what Chiori's kits look like, but I've heard, you know, at some point, we'll probably get some of the upper-ranking Harbingers. I think we get Arlecchino and Fontaine. Eventually we'll get Clorand. I actually knew from the start of Fontaine, if I pulled on no one else, I would probably pull on Clorand. Just because, even if it's not, like, the same dark, gritty, like, aspect, I think I've mentioned before, my favorite game from Software, series that I really love, is actually Bloodborne. And that was just the immediate thing I got in mind when we saw her from the start. And I like her, but let's do the character trials for these two. I've seen gameplay on Cloud Retainer. I don't know much about Gaming, but I'm assuming they... Well, Gaming probably shows up in her character quest, I'd imagine. I could be wrong. But I think her kit's really interesting. Initially, when I heard kind of the niche she had, I thought that maybe she was going to be like a support for Zhao. Which is weird, because if she was going to be a support for anyone, you would think that she'd be a support for Ganyu? But I really can't tell. I mean, as a Catalyst Animo player, or character, I think the first thing that comes to mind is probably a Swirl team. But when I've looked it up, people said you just stack attack and some EM on her. It's really hard to know. I'm not the best at figuring that stuff out by myself. Although to be fair, part of it's just reading. When I first built my Hu Tao, I definitely gave her attack percent artifacts and didn't realize that you were supposed to do HP. But I think her kit's really cool. Looks really good, and it does the character justice because she's been around for so long. I think that was one thing that disappointed a lot of people about Baiju's kit, which I don't even think is that bad, but still, I know, like, he was such an anticipated character for a long time that people wanted to see him maybe be, like, top tier. We'll see. I've been raising different characters as well, because something I've realized now that I've been running Navia team a lot, it's actually the first team in forever that I've been using over my Raiden Eula comp, which I stubbornly used for, like, 2 years. I've really enjoyed the Navia comp, but I've realized Zhongli really is such a necessity that I need to raise more shielders, because my Hu Tao team, even though I don't use it in the overworld, is my strongest team. And I never use anything else for Zhongli in the Spiral Abyss. So I haven't been able to use my Navia team. I haven't been able to use, you know, my Ganyu team. both of which I think are pretty decent. Not the best, but decent. So, I've looked into raising some other shielders. Funnily enough, back in the day, I actually used a lot of Noelle. Thought about that. I've been raising Diona. It just gives me something to work towards, I guess, because I really haven't pulled characters in Genshin for a while. But we do have a lot of really good characters coming up, so we'll see. Yeah, I wasn't able to get a copy of Gaming when I was pulling, because I was already at pretty high pity. But I think we get a free character in Lantern Rite. I don't know if we'll stream Lantern Rite, but I know that... I think it starts in a few days. Because it is this patch, it just hasn't started just yet. It's a really cool looking kit, though. Something I've realized over time is if you aren't able to get a 4-star character, the majority of them do become free at some point in time. Like, I wasn't able to get Fremine because of pity, because I didn't want to pull a 5-star. I wasn't able to get Dory back in the day either, I believe, and both of them became free through events. Not all of them, but if I remember right, just kind of going down the list. You get a free... These 3 for free, right? You get Barber for free. There's I think a permanent event that gives you Zhongling. I'm pretty sure we've gotten a free Xingqiu, Official, and Bennett at some point. I think Noelle's free, like... Because Noelle's off, yeah, Noelle's off the first 20 Wish banner. Like, I'm trying to remember, because I'm sure there are some 4-star characters that haven't had an event at some point in time. But I'm pretty sure I saw Gaming is available through the, like, free Liyue character we get every Lantern Rite. So, anyways, let's hop into the story quest. I gotta say, I really appreciate... Oh, you can have more... Oh, no, that's the commissions. I really appreciate that they gave us this available thing, because I would always unlock the story quests and then be unable to do anything if I ran across them. Because, as you could probably tell by my quest list, I have a hard time finishing some of the less interesting side quests in this game. But even after all this time, I still really enjoy this game. I know a lot of people have compared it to Star Rail, but I just honestly enjoy both. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying both or liking one or the other, but I think both are still fun after all this time. And I'm still enjoying Arknights. That game, though, I don't want to jinx it because I said, like, oh yeah, the games I've been playing have been really nice to me recently. I actually got Navi at 6 pity. And then I had to spark Aya Alter. Which, about sums it up, but, you know, we'll see. I'm really excited for some of the upcoming banners in Arknights as well. I don't think I'll ever be as excited for a banner as I was for Tex Altar. But if they ever add a Siege Altar, that'll be awesome. Oop. And if we ever get... well, not if we ever get when Candle Knight comes out. I didn't think Viviana was ever going to be a playable character. But there's also like Dijinbreaker, we're getting Hoder, who I forgot about when I made the Crusher video on Arknights, but... All these games, like, that's how they stay alive, though, to be fair. Is, you know, they just keep releasing really cool characters with new gimmicks. I know people talk about power creep, which is also fair, but I think that's inevitable in any game with a large cast of characters. Like, I've been playing League, I've been learning Dota 2, I've played Heroes of the Storm. MOBAs in general, I think, have it real hard. Where they'll try to make every character viable, but there's definitely ones that are stronger. Let's turn it on auto so I don't accidentally skip dialogue.
We even brought offerings and everything. And when we told her that Rex Lapis had been
It's been a while.
She immediately threatened to squash Liyue Harbor.
Yeah.
Paimon thought she'd be impossible to get along with. But now that we've spent some more time together, she's really not like that at all.
You know, I do wonder, because it's so interesting to theorize what characters we'll get for older regions. Especially since some of them just pop up, you know, that we've never met before. But I do wonder if we'll get the other... I can't remember their name. I remember one looks like a deer. I want to say it's Mooncarver and Mountain Shaper, but that could also be completely wrong. But the original Adeptus that helped us in Liyue Harbor when Zhongli was, you know, retiring, I guess. But now that we know, you know, because a lot of people wondered for a long time whether Cloud Retainer would be playable or not. And one thing that I'm really hopeful for, that I don't know if will happen because Genshin hasn't had a precedence for this, is maybe we'll get Signora or Guizhong in the future. The issue is, unlike HI3, there just hasn't seemed to be a precedent for characters that have already been dead, or just becoming playable after they've died, in a sense. But to be fair, so few characters have passed on. A lot of the ones we've seen recently have been like the previous Archons, who we've still gotten some version for, you know?
We probably don't need to bring any offerings now that we've gotten to know her pretty well, right? Still, Paimon's got some snacks around here somewhere, so if she really wants something, we can just use that. Huh? Traveler, did something catch your eye?
Yeah, it's interesting, because you would assume with the appearance of Xianyun, the other two big Adeptus should have human forms.
Whoa, what a pretty lady. Is she
Oh, they
also
even did a
here to
fake
visit
out,
Cloud
if we
Retainer?
didn't know. I mean, that doesn't look like Cloud Retainer, but it'd be funny. And I really do wonder how many other Adeptus there are. You know, it's hard to tell. Will we ever get some version of Madame Ping? I think the character I've mentioned from like the very background of the Stove God event was meant to be a younger Madame Ping. So, that could be interesting.
Yeah, you're right. All it takes is one look and you can tell she's someone special. As expected of that bird lady, really. She must have a whole bunch of Adepti friends from all over the country. Okay, but
I love how they
if
always
we're
just
both
sit and
friends
talk
of
behind
Cloud
someone.
Retainer, then we're basically friends
half
by
the time,
association,
They can
right?
probably just hear
Want
them.
to go up to her and say hello?
I do love, though, the Travelers. Like, I love the Trailblazers. Just sassy remarks every single time. But the Traveler can be a little sassy. But I think the Traveler's also a little bit more wholesome.
Helping you make more connections is a part of Paimon's job as your reliable guide. Paimon's got this.
I wonder if they'll recognize who she is just by voice.
Hello. Paimon is Paimon, and this is the Traveler.
I will say one thing that's... I wonder how it would have been to play this character quest if you didn't know somehow who she was. Even without leaks, which are hard to avoid. It's like avoiding spoilers on movies back in the day, right? It's hard to know. I'm trying to remember if they've introduced her as anything else, like... just in-game. Like, if I hadn't listened to voice lines, if I hadn't seen anything online. What did the character card quest say?
Paimon doesn't think we've met, but we're also friends of Cloud Retainer. May we have the pleasure of learning your name, Madam Adeptus?
You two... What is this tomfoolery? Has this shift in form so clouded your eyes that you no longer recognize one anymore?
Wait, you're...
I like that she refers to herself as one still. It's like one of those... I don't think it's terribly uncommon, but like when characters have like distinguished or distinct speech patterns, I just think it's kind of interesting. Just aside from like the voice actor themselves too, who do a good job. But I'm trying to think of a good example. I never played much Nikke, but I know a guy who did. And I think he said there's a swordswoman character like that in that game. I don't know her name, but I think she speaks in like a unique way. Who is there? I can't think of anyone in Star Rail. I'm sure there are ones in Arknights, but I don't usually play that game with volume. I don't know.
Huh? You're the illuminated bird? But you look... human! How did that happen?
Makes you wonder if some of the other
Well,
Adepti like
donning
Zhao also
human
have
form is
other forms.
scarcely any test of one's abilities.
Or if that
As for
depends,
your
like, because he's a
confusion,
Yaksha, right?
One merely had no
If it
reason
depends
to
on what
indulge
type of
such
Adeptus they
inclinations
are.
before.
So,
Because I know, like, Ganyu's
You're
half Qilin,
indulging
half human, which is
now
part of the explanation there, right?
Well, one has made plans to pay a visit to some disciples at Liyue Harbor. Taking on a human form for such a trip is simply a way to make matters less conspicuous.
you? Worrying about keeping a low profile? You're the one who likes to pop up out of nowhere all over the place. In fact, Paimon can think of several examples, like last year.
He's talking really casually to someone who's so ridiculously powerful. I really do wonder, too, how in the long scheme of things, so many of those Like, when I made the power tier list, I know I should have had, like, a couple extra tiers between, like, Archon and Elite Fighter. But you have characters like Wanderer, you have characters like, you know, Albedo's supposed to be really powerful, the Adeptus, that are much stronger than even, like, I don't know what you'd call, maybe just, like, the human with the vision limit. Or just, like, the human limit, I guess, is what people would refer it to as. Because you would assume, right, even the weaker Adepti are probably stronger than the strongest humans in Teyvat, right? Maybe not, but... Because you have individuals like Kapitana, who's supposed to be a human, I think. But where do all of those individuals stand up? You know, at what point, you know... Because we even know with Archon level, there's such a big gap in just sheer combat power. You have Archons like Zhongli and A, who... Neither of which I think is at peak power, but we know some of their crazy feats. Even Venti blowing away literal mountains. But it's just so curious to wonder, you know, how that changes.
Hey, didn't we agree not to bring that up unless she asked?
Oh? So you have taken care to follow the proper rules of etiquette after all. Most commendable.
Fails to look indifferent as she shares her snacks.
Well, this is all Paimon's got. You don't mind, right?
My inventory has
One
like
never
3,000
found
snacks.
oneself lacking in
Like,
basic comforts. On the contrary, it is the gesture that one values above all else. So long as you've shown proper respect and consideration,
you know
the
what?
quantity
That
and
is wholesome
quality
too.
of the gift is but
It's
a
the thought that
trivial
counts.
matter.
That kinda makes Paimon feel a little guilty for trying to keep them for herself. Anyway, where were we before you reminded Paimon about the gifts?
I am wondering though, are we going to Liyue Harbor or the new area? We saw, so I teleported to the one waypoint they gave us for the new area, and we saw someone I think was called Fusion. Who I wonder if she'll be playable in the future. Sure, that'll go over in the story quest. But are we going to Liyue Harbor and meeting like Shenhe and Ganyu and such? Because I know there's a voice line about like Shenhe delivering delivery from Wanmin restaurant by like running across roofs, which is hysterical, honestly. I mean, could you imagine ordering like DoorDash or Grubhub or something and you live in the city? I don't, but like if you lived in the city and you just hear footsteps pounding across the rooftops and they just drop in front of your house.
Ah, right. So by disciples, you must mean Ganyu and Shenhe. It's also been a while since we last saw them. Maybe we can come too.
One planned to extend the invitation even if you had not raised the matter yourself. Shenhe and Ganyu should be quite pleased to see you again. However, one would first inquire as to the reason behind your visit here. You have cause to seek one's company?
So when it comes to this, I've always wondered if, because Teyvat's supposed to be like exponentially larger than the map, right? You wouldn't be able to run from one end of Liyue to the other in like 5 minutes. But are the travel waypoints canon? And if they are, can the Traveler and maybe the Abyss sibling actually be the only ones that use them, and they can bring like Paimon along, getting in the teapot and stuff too? Because we've seen, you know, like when Yae went to Sumeru, a ton of other examples when Shinobu and Ito have come to Liyue a couple times, they had to take a boat. So when they say, oh, we could have just contacted you, for all they know, we're still in Sumeru, right? Or not Sumeru Fontaine, or Sumeru for all they know, right? So I've always wondered, because I'd feel a little gypped, honestly, if I made friends with the Traveler and they're like, yep, I'm gonna snap my fingers and all of a sudden I'm across the world. Meanwhile, I have to take like 3 months in a boat to get somewhere. That'd be sad.
Oh, we just found ourselves missing you and wanted to see how you were doing. We were hoping you'd tell us one of your stories. Who knew we'd run into your human form while we were at it?
I don't know if you want to hear Cloud
Is that
Retainer
so?
stories, unless it's embarrassing
If there are no
Ganyu.
urgent matters at hand, then let us make haste for Liyue Harbor. Ganyu is likely still working at Yue High Pavilion, so that shall be our first stop.
Sounds great! Then let's all go to Liyue Harbor!
I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've done a full
Ganyu has been quite busy with work.
character story quest in this game
One can
without
count
just
on
reading
one tell
the
number
dialogue
of times she
and clicking
returns
through it a
to
little
Mount
faster, but I think it
each
takes
year.
like
Shenhe
2
has
hours,
also
right?
secured employment recently. In her correspondence with me, she wrote that she shall
Oh.
have no need to return for the foreseeable future.
Is that her delivery job?
Do they think one was so easily mollified? One shall investigate everything with one's own eyes and decide for oneself if their living conditions are satisfactory.
Okay. I've always been bad about hitting the map immediately when there's outworld dialogue like that, and then I don't see it. So, make sure to listen to that. Just interesting to see, like, her personality, I mean, it makes sense, really hasn't changed. And it's something that I think a lot of games and, like, anime and manga really do a good job in depicting, is if you've lived for a ridiculously long time, at some point, like, people change, right? But when it's like a blink in your lifespan, it probably takes a lot longer. I think a really good example of this would be, like, the anime slash manga that's been really popular recently, Freerun.
Hey, do you think Ganyu will be shocked to see Cloud Retainer like this?
Like, the need to be like a morning person probably becomes less when you live for thousands of years. So you don't need to make the most of every day.
Where did she go?
She just disappeared? Is she back there? Oh.
Why are you just standing there, Cloud Retainer?
Quietly now. One shall stay here. You two can go and meet with her.
She's trying to surprise them?
But why? Isn't it better if we all go together?
If one were to proudly proclaim one's presence,
Oh.
Ganyu would surely profess herself otherwise unoccupied and
Yeah,
drop
that's fair.
everything to attend to one's visit. One fears that would only result in her staying up all night to make up for lost time. One does
Really?
not wish to trouble her. Conversing vicariously via you two shall suffice. Do remember to inquire as to her recent well-being. Again, do not mention one's presence here.
Fair enough. Makes sense.
Pretty firm
Alright,
about
then
that.
We'll just pass on your regards and...
Oh,
Cloud Retainer?
oh, there she goes.
Oh,
Oh, busted.
We aren't exactly standing out of view. Like, what's there between us? That one tiny tree?
Ms. Ganyu. She is indeed.
Mm.
I'm sorry, Huixin,
Oh,
but
no.
could we delay the upcoming meeting for a little bit? I believe my
I
schedule
feel
today
bad,
is quite
but
full.
to be fair, it's like when Ningguang's
Oh,
secretaries took over,
Perhaps
3
I
people
could
couldn't
leave
do
some
the work that
for later
Ganyu
in the
did.
evening.
So,
Oh,
if she's working,
not to
like,
worry, Miss
all the
Ganyu.
time the way she does, she's gotta be doing the work of, like, 20 people. It's crazy to
Thank
think.
you, Huixin.
She's still not... It's funny.
Greetings. What brings you here today?
Hmm.
And Cloud Retainer too. It's been quite
Oh,
some time
she has
since I
seen her
last
in this
saw
form.
you in this
Okay.
form.
you
makes
are
sense.
quite mistaken. One is not acquainted with this Cloud Retainer of whom you speak. One is simply a mere mortal passerby.
Huh?
Seems she's not buying it.
I have always wondered in this universe too. Like, you can tell looking at some people in Tibet, right? Like, oh, this is somebody special. And you'd assume, like, there's, like... You know, like, everyone knows who the current Archons are when they've appeared. Not Venti, but, you know... Or Zhongli, I guess, technically. But everyone knew who the Raiden Shogun was. Or Nahida. You know what, I take it back. But, like... Can you tell at a glance, you know, who's an Adeptus? I always wondered. You can see visions, you can see... Because everyone wears them. Usually in, like, a distinctive spot. I've just always wondered.
That was but a simple test.
Is it like
One did
aura
not
or
expect
something
you
like
to
that,
be
you
able
know?
To recognize one so easily, especially after so many years of only seeing one's other form.
She's really tall. Hmm. She's thinking, why wouldn't I recognize you? I used to see you every day. How bad do you think my memory is? Kind of funny.
But recognizing you is, my responsibility
Yeah, she grew up
as your
around her.
disciple.
And that's saying a lot, because growing up as an Adeptus too is probably
An apt observation.
more than like
One
18
was
years, you
simply
know?
Passing by while attending to some important business. One thought it would only be fitting to pay you a visit while in the area.
Mm.
Wait, Paimon wasn't aware of any important...
Paimon.
Oh, Cloud Retainer's right! We've still got something super important.
That's why Paimon never bothered me. It's just like actually bringing a child along with you.
Oh, is that so?
Mm.
But it's been so long since we last saw each other.
One simply desired to see you and had no intention of interrupting your work. A quick conversation should suffice for today. A more involved reunion should wait until you find yourself less occupied.
I understand. That should be fine.
While one acknowledges the amount of work that you have to deal with every day, one must also
Yeah.
remind you to rest. Though Adepti blood flows through your veins, excessive exhaustion will still cause grave harm to your body. It still makes one nostalgic to see you as you are now, respected and independent. When you were young,
jeez.
you oft begged one to cuddle you to sleep when you suffered from nightmares.
Cloud Retainer! Stop!
If you insist. We are running short on time regardless, so one will refrain from going into each and every story. Why don't you continue your conversation? One shall simply stand by and listen.
So I don't know if we're gonna see it here, or maybe in Lantern Right, but there was a really cute cutscene I saw online that I think was official that showed Ganyu as like a young Adeptus, or Adepti. I don't know what the correct terminology is, even after all this time. But it was really cute.
Wow, you've been to so many new places since the last time we spoke. If you ever need anything, please just come find me at Liyue High Pavilion. Also, forgive me for my presumptuousness, Cloud Retainer, but if you plan to continue appearing in this form, don't you think
Oh, had
it'd
she
be
not
helpful to
decided on
adopt a human
Xianyun
name?
at this point?
A human name? Huh. You raise a valid point.
Cloud Retainer isn't even really a
Considering
name,
the
it's more
sheer
like a
extent of
title.
one's renown, Cloud Retainer is surely too recognizable as a name.
You really think so? Not that you're not famous or anything.
At the very least in Liyue.
That famous?
You presume to know the extent of one's illustrious achievements. One would hardly think such a thing to be possible.
Oh, she just decides. Okay.
Nevertheless, Ganyu's advice cannot be ignored. From this point on, when in public occasions, be sure to refer to one as Xianyun.
Oh, Xianyun, not Xianyun. Okay.
I
I've never
assume
been
that's a
good at
reference to
pronunciations.
The full record of pristine pavilion. An adeptus of years past would rise with the clouds and rest with the moon. They were enlightened and wise, free and unfettered. The writer referenced Master's name to describe her carefree and spontaneous nature.
Interesting. Yeah, when it comes to pronouncing names just off of reading them, I know you can get like the full dictionary-like explanation, but I've never been good at guessing without hearing it. I knew a guy whose name was spelled H-U-Y, which is apparently like a really common spelling for the name Wee. I called him Hui for like a month before he told me. But to be fair, like proper nouns, at least in English, have always been a weird one. Because you can spell it pretty much however you want and pronounce it however you want.
Oh, that sounds super cool! Paimon feels like only the most powerful of Adepti could rise with the clouds and rest with the moon.
Actually, those lines were originally written to describe Cloud Retainer herself.
Huh? Wait, so you're really that powerful?
Apparently.
And what of it? Did you truly take one to be nothing more than a bird of bigger than average size?
Not exactly.
That's
To be fair,
absolutely
Cloud
what she has in
Retainer rarely
mind.
speaks of her past accomplishments. The tales of her past can only be found in ancient texts. It is said that once, a long, long time ago, there was a severe drought in Liyue. Left with no choice, many people left their homes, while others spent day and night praying to the Adepti.
Did she make it rain?
Although I did not live through such tragedy, simply reading about it is enough to gain a visceral understanding of all the pain and desperation during that time. On top of the drought, a noxious
What?
gas also began to spread through the land. If not for Cloud Retainer's efforts, much of Liyue would be nothing.
We're just not
more
going to
than a
explain
barren
what happened.
wasteland
There's just
today.
a drought, big poisonous
The book
gas
had
running
this
around.
to say about what happened. Upon arrival, the Adeptus borrowed the wind to retain the clouds.
Oh.
Immediately, the clouds gathered together, and
Interesting.
abundant rain burst forth from the heavens. Drought and plague were both driven away, and the people were saved.
Well, it makes sense why she's an animo character now.
That's incredible!
Mortal records add embellishments to dramatize past events. One did merely with one art, and even if one had not interceded, the other adepti would surely have stepped in to help.
Even so,
Well.
you stopped an entire drought! Can you really control the weather like the book said? Oh, Paimon suddenly has a lot more respect for you.
It's
so
such
it was Paimon's
backhanded
last call you
compliments.
illuminated bird before. You're not too mad, are you?
How laughable.
Mm.
A name is but a simple label we carry with us on our journey through the world. Why would one be offended by such a
Yeah, it's
trivial
not the most
matter?
offensive name Paimon's come up with someone, to be fair.
In that case, Paimon will continue to call you whatever feels right in the moment.
Well, that is quite enough ancient history for now. Ganyu, have you had word from Shenhe? One has heard that she procured a job recently. Have you any thoughts on her workplace? And what,
On her
pray
pay?
tell, of her monthly remuneration? Moreover, does she find herself overly inundated with work? Is she allowed time off during Lantern Rite?
That is a lot of questions.
It was like 3.
There is no cause for concern, Cloud Retainer. I introduced Shenhe to her employer personally. Wanmin Restaurant's
It
business
is
has
Wanmin,
been
okay.
booming recently. So, with Chef Mao being swamped with customers, and Shangling still off and out in search of new recipes, I introduced Shenhe to staff the
For
restaurant.
some reason, I can't really
I
imagine
see.
Shenhe.
Most excellent
Cooking.
indeed. One has had the
Not in like a
pleasure of
mean
being
way, it's
introduced
just-
to that family. Shangling is kind and astute,
Huh.
while her father is loyal and reliable. One has no cause to believe that they will make Shenhe's work
To be
difficult.
fair, I can't really imagine a lot of characters cooking.
Now,
Then
it's
again, we have
almost time
characters
to
like
partake
Ito
in
who
the
just
victuals
like,
of noon. One
let's
shall
grill
visit
lavender
Wanmin
melons.
Restaurant in person and
So-
see how Shenhe is doing.
But I do think she's a
But
delivery person
didn't
from
you
what I
just
heard.
say that you had something important to do?
Can that wait until after we've eaten?
You may return to your work, Ganyu. One shall see to this matter on one's own. There will be many an occasion to dine together in the future. One is certain the
I
opportunity
think I've just with
shall present
Shenhe seen
itself
too many
most
of like, I
readily.
think it's Zinjoru
Of
is a really
course, Cloud
popular
Retainer.
fan
Please
artist
take
on it.
care.
There's a lot of really
Xianyun,
talented people
Paimon,
in the world when it comes to
I'll see
art.
you some other time.
See you around, Ganyu!
I just imagine her, especially after her own character quest and introduction, I just imagine her beating the ever-loving crap out of someone. Someone complains about the delivery time. She just... I don't know. I think overall, though, Shenhe, when she has the red ropes on, right, is still generally a pretty calm person. I wonder what new voice line she has. I haven't been good about checking them, but I know they usually add these cool little Easter eggs in. I don't have it. Oh, you have to complete it. But they add these really cool, like, little Easter eggs in with new characters, and people really keep up to date with them because it's how you hear about, you know, new characters, which is important. That's something that I've never been good at, but
Important business to attend to.
that's
Paimon
how you
realized
find
that
out
you
about
were
some
just
people
looking
way
to
ahead of
get
time, even if only by
conversation
name.
And not take too much of Ganyu's time. Is Paimon right?
No, in fact, it was
Oh,
not
she
an
actually is working the
excuse.
counter?
One is indeed visiting Liyue Harbor for an important purpose.
Wait, for real?
It's always surprising to
The
see how many
moment
vision
is
holders,
not
though,
yet
in
upon
Teyvat just work
us.
like normal jobs.
Still, the truth will
You'd
be
think most of
revealed
them-
to you in time.
Like, I know there's vision holders like Hutao or Yoimiya
really
that don't
seems
even
to be
really
playing
use
up
their
the whole
visions in lore.
mysterious Adeptus thing right
But you'd
now.
think most of them would be like, yeah, let's just sign up for like a military position, like what Dea does. Maybe that doesn't pay well, but... You know, with all the treasure hoarders, all the hilly churros, everything in the world, you'd think there'd be a lot of work for, like, people who can fight, outside of just, like, the Adventurers Guild. But maybe some people want a normal life. Oh, she was talking to Chef
You
Mao.
get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, how can I not? Not even fine food is enough to
Oh.
distract from the presence of a fine lady, huh?
At
least I'm not trying to steal from her.
details than ordering any dishes. Hey,
That's what
how
the
about
people
you
were doing,
ask her?
like, at the start, right?
You do
When
it.
she first showed up.
No.
This
think
is
you
the
should.
most, like...
Wait, she's coming.
I feel like everyone's had a
get
conversation
for
like
you
this with
today?
their friends at some point.
Greetings, miss. I was just wondering if you'd be willing to...
What would you like to order?
Oh. Who's gonna ask? Do they ask her for her number? Is that
2
even a thing?
servings of more meat to go. Good chat. Bye.
Welcome. It's been a while. May I take your order?
Don't welcome us as guests and greet us as old friends in the same line. It's weird.
I like Shenhe. She is one of the characters, though, that I pulled because I thought I would use a lot, and I just don't play, like, Ayaka team comps very often. But thankfully, I'm at the point in my account, I think, like, a lot of people have hit this point a while ago. I actually saw, funnily enough, an article online about people talking about how it was, like, titled, Genshin Impact players are losing motivation to pull on characters. Because a lot of accounts, you know, it's been a few years at this point, are hitting the point where even with the Abyss getting harder, they can still reliably do it. And so they're like, oh, there's no motivation to get and build a new meta character. But I think that's the cool point you hit in these style of games where you can just start pulling on characters you purely like. Because for me, the criteria was always like, I either had to really like them, or their personality or design, or they had to be good. Usually, to be honest, all three. Or just not even necessarily good, but a character I know I would use. Like, at the start when Yae Miko's kit was really bad, I knew I'd use her because I'm a big fan of just off-field DPS in general. But nowadays, you know, and it depends. Like, this last cycle of Spiral Abyss, I was able to 36-star first try. But on my account, to be fair, a lot of times I have to redo floor 12 for all the stars. Whether it takes, like, different team comps for different floors, or to make sure I have burst up. Because floor 12 for me has always been tight. I usually do it within, like, 5-10 seconds of the timer going out. So if I don't have bursts at the start, that saves like that much time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, and this is?
yeah.
This is Miss Xianyun.
But you never know too.
Master?
Even if you think you like a kit, I feel like you never know if you really use them. Like I use Yelan a
One
lot.
does not recall ever
And I
revealing
wasn't
this
sure when
one
I
to you
first got her.
before. How were you able to ascertain one's true identity with such ease?
So Shenhe hadn't seen this
I've
form
trained
before, so it
and
has
lived
been a
with
long
Master for more
time.
than 10 years. I would recognize you no matter what form you
Oh.
take.
Is she gonna cry? That's
Is
wholesome.
something the matter, Master?
Hardly. Hardly. One simply learned of your employment from your letter and came to check on your well-being.
I gotta say too, I've always loved the color scheme of Genshin characters. They do such a good job with
Indeed.
that.
It's almost
Just
lunchtime.
Hoyoverse games in general.
My apologies. I'm still on the clock and can't
Like that's
talk
something
for
with
very
art that I
long.
don't really understand, but I can appreciate.
Well, if it isn't the traveler in Paimon, are you
I've
here
always
for
been good with
Shenhe?
music, but just not
You
good
weren't
at drawing.
gracious
I draw
yet,
like
Shenhe.
I don't even draw good
I've got
stick
things covered
figures.
for now.
It's like the
Go
basis.
ahead,
Like,
sit down and enjoy some time with your friends.
Hmm.
I'll let you know if things pick up.
Thank you, Chef Mao.
So we got to see Ganyu and Shenhe. I guess they are her direct disciples. I wonder if we'll see like Zhao or whatnot. Sit and talk. Oh, over here. Oh, sorry.
It is just as one expected. The owner of Wanmin Restaurant is indeed a most reasonable and accommodating human.
Yeah.
Still, the work here entails dealing with quite a varied group of people. Has this been difficult for you, Shenhe?
Well,
It's been manageable so far.
yeah.
I sometimes run into strange people, but I have figured out a way to deal with them.
Seems like you've been making progress. So by dealing with them,
Let's not even ask.
First, I try to talk sense into them.
I threaten them with
I
violence.
threaten them with violence.
Oh my.
At this point, they usually decide
jeez.
they are in favor of a civil conversation.
oh,
Yeah, sure.
remember
That's exactly what I thought she was gonna say, but that is hilarious. At some point too, like you've gotta get some kind of reputation, right? Those guys at the start at the restaurant didn't really seem to know who she was, but she literally entered Liyue Harbor. I've mentioned it a few times at this point just because it's so funny. But she starts by like threatening and beating up people who are trying to steal from her, right? It's been a while, but I thought that's what happened. I just remember she was threatening somebody when we were like rebuilding the Jade Chamber.
Oh,
A sensible plan.
One is gladdened to see you integrate so well into human society.
At least she tries to talk it out first, huh?
How have you been?
Simply marvelous.
Hmm.
Though Mount Outsong has scarcely enjoyed your presence recently, one has hardly found the pleasure of one's own company to be lacking.
I see. Oh, just as expected of Master.
Oh. I guess I never really picked up on the fact that Cloud Retainer is a bit of a tsundere. I just thought she was more of like a reclusive type person. But that is that's pretty
I
funny.
have missed Master quite a bit too. Even though work has been busy lately, I've already had a conversation with Chef Mao about taking some time off soon to visit Master.
Oh.
You did? Do make note of such matters in your letters in the future. There's hardly a need to keep one in suspense.
Whoa. Her mood shot up just like that.
By the way, Master, since you are in Liyue Harbor, have you had the chance to visit Ganyu?
Indeed. She is similarly preoccupied with her work. There was time only to exchange a few simple pleasantries.
Ganyu told us
Well,
the story
Liyue
of
Harbor's always
Lavatina
seemed
Beach.
busy.
It was amazing. We never knew how powerful she was before.
I see. In that case, allow me to also share a story
Oh.
about Master's past.
Is it gonna be an impressive one, or is it gonna be an embarrassing one?
Is that a problem, Master? I believe this to be a good topic of conversation.
No, not a problem. One was simply caught off guard. But no matter. Please, proceed. One is most curious to see how much of one's own conversational prowess you possess.
Master once participated in a race against
It was
Mooncarver.
Mooncarver, that was one of them, okay.
After Mooncarver lost, he insisted that Master's ability to fly gave her a natural edge in such a contest.
I mean,
In response, Master
There's
agreed
mountains
to
everywhere.
forego flying in return for being able to use one of her devices
he's
in the
made a
race.
device.
Mooncarver accepted, only to find Master with a brand new device on the day of the contest.
Huh. What kind of device was it?
Was it a car?
It was a mechanical vehicle made out of iron.
Was it a
What's
bike?
it called again? Oh, an electro-powered bicycle?
This is gonna be an embarrassing
Oh,
story,
you
isn't
refer
it?
to the bicyclical Thunder Flashmobile. One spent 49 days conceptualizing and crafting it. It need only be infused with adeptal energy, and it can cover
Could you imagine if we had
thousands
some kind
miles
of
in
like
one
renewable
day.
source of energy, just like a
Oh, it
vision?
boggles the mind
Even
what
if like
Mooncarver
only
ever
a small
supposed
percentage
he
of
might
people had
best
it, that'd
me
be
in a
crazy.
contest of locomotion. Though he sprinted with all his might, he could barely keep up.
Oh no, she was just faster.
Alas, the one flaw of my mechanism
Oh.
lay in its weakness against mountainous terrain. One was thwarted mere seconds.
Well,
from
that'd be the
victory
issue in racing
when it was
anywhere in
thrown
Liyue,
off
though.
course
Like,
and failed to
it's
make
the
it
same issue
across
with
the final
exploring.
stretch.
You had to climb up everything.
Truly a most unfortunate
And that's something they've done
coincidence.
really well in recent
Anyway,
regions and
do
areas,
go on,
is
Shenhe.
giving you like
Master,
exploration aids.
That was the end of that story.
Oh,
Is that so? Huh. With you gone, one has seldom felt the desire
She
to
wanted
call
to-
upon those
she wanted to
old
show off the
fossils for
Xianyun
another
Ganyu.
contest. What is a race without spectators, after all?
Have you been lonely, Master?
Lonely? Huh. At one's age, entire human generations come and go in the blink of an eye. Even
there's always
one's
like these
own
small, like
self-directed
sad,
musings can
bittersweet
span
moments
several
in these
days and
types of
nights.
quests.
'Tis a most foreign sentiment. The mere mention of it is preposterous.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wouldn't want to live forever, though. One of those
What
like
is the
thoughts I feel
reason
like
for that
everyone's
look
had,
upon your face?
but I think living forever would be
It's just... well,
not
I
great.
gained a lot of respect for you after listening
Hmm.
to that story of you summoning the rain and everything.
I'm on.
But all it took was a few words out of your mouth, and it's like you're back to being that illuminated
Jeez.
bird again. I was just a little bit confused. Which one of the two is the real Cloud Retainer?
Well,
To me, they are both
Yeah.
Master. One is the Master that's widely revered by the people, while the
it's like the
other
saying
is
though,
the
like,
Master
oh,
that
I'm
I
only human,
respect
right?
and
But it's
adore.
not quite the same, because she's
One
not
finds
literally a
oneself
human.
exalted yet again with
but-
sweet words of praise and flattery of a most
You know,
extravagant nature.
for like semi, like, maybe
You
not
chose
immortal,
to
but such
exalt one
long-lived
with your
beings, the
words,
Adepti and
yet
other
you
similar races like the
refuse to grace
Yokai,
Mount outside
they
with your
do a
presence
good
for
job
any extended period
of like
of
making
time.
them feel even
One would
semi-relatable.
almost question the sincerity of your estimations.
Because some
This is
series and
not to
games make
say
them a
that
lot
your words
different.
paint an inaccurate picture. One has always lived by
Hmm.
a single ideal. Eschew all action and abide by no rule. One does as one pleases and speaks as one pleases. Others may critique or praise as they see fit. Yet one places little weight in such judgments.
It's a good mindset to have, too.
She got like what?
Constructive
2
criticism
sentences
is
of
helpful,
flattery
but...
from her disciple, and it's as if her ego was about to burst.
Do you have any empty tables?
Jeez.
Hey there, could we get another fish stew?
Oh, is Shenhe also like a waiter waitress type person? I just remember from the voice line I'd heard before this patch,
I should get back to
she was
work.
delivering to someone running across rooftops, but that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'll try my best.
So where to next? Oh, is Paimon helping? I didn't even catch on that. Oops.
So much yummy food! Paimon's gonna feast!
Oh, no, we just ordered food. That makes more sense. But she should be able to eat this, right? One of the first things we did was share snacks from Paimon with her.
One is fond of all kinds of delicacies and delights in a multitude of flavors. The dishes here demonstrate no shortage of culinary skill. Their unique flavor profile has left one more than satisfied. In fact, one has been struck by quite the fit of inspiration. One has already begun to conceptualize the next generation of supreme cuisine machines.
Everything's so tasty.
I heard a voice line about that, actually.
Hot at times, but still super tasty.
That,
I'm sorry, miss, but...
he was arguing with
our tables are
Jongling
full.
about that.
Shall we try somewhere else, Granny?
But it smells so delightful. Can we really not eat here? My poor legs can't go on for much longer.
Well, you could always check with some of the other guests and see if anyone's happy to share a table.
Okay, I'll ask around. Excuse me. Would you mind letting us share a table with you? There are no empty tables left, so...
I wonder if this is gonna be someone we just meet in passing, or if they'll be part of the story quest.
Great! Thanks so much. My name is Xianyun, and this is my
Xianyun.
granny, Yuendai.
I feel like I've heard that name from,
Granny? Yep. Is there something wrong with that? No, Paimon's just a bit surprised. She looks so young. Yeah, a lot of people compliment Granny on her youthful looks, but she's actually much older than she appears.
Was she an Adeptus? That we just don't know, or what? They're just staring at each other.
Granny, why don't you take a seat? Come on, it's not polite to stare.
Huh. Have we met before?
Oh,
No.
maybe?
Tis a fated meeting, then. Please, take a seat.
Well, she said she'd never been seen by Shenhe in the 10 years she, you know, worked with her in this form, so... I do wonder how long ago it was.
Ground after a rainstorm.
Braised earthworms.
Oh no, not this again. Granny, there's no braised earthworms on the menu. Braised earthworms? Well, that sounds weird. Do people actually eat that?
Can't hurt to ask. Maybe we shouldn't ask that.
Right, that's what Paimon was thinking too. Need any help? Help? Oh, do you mean with Granny? Thanks, that's nice of you to offer. Granny has
Oh.
pretty bad dementia, so her memory's getting worse all the time. She's always saying things that sound kinda confusing. Actually,
Let's...
her memory's been bad ever since I was little. But it's gotten so bad lately that I even have to remind her who I am every morning.
That's really sad. That was, like, I feel like almost every story quest hits us with something like this. Some of the ones I remember the most, like, you know, obviously outside of the Archon quest with, you know, Makoto, with Ruka Devada, you know, Foslors. The big one I always remember that just, for some reason always really stuck with me and hit me in the gut was the first Zhongli character quest with the God of Salt. And just all that just really sad ending. But so many characters in that have really sad backstories, you know? Like, even from the start and early on, we have, like, Eula and Lauren's clan that she's kind of trying to separate herself from and be a better person. There's Hu Tao, when she first got her vision by basically traveling to that point between the afterlife and the mortal plane, or whatever you'd call it, to find her grandpa. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of in-depth lore in this game that's really cool, and there's just always more to learn.
They died young. It's just me and Granny now. Oh, but it's okay. Don't feel bad. Granny loves me a lot, and I love her a lot too. Sure, it's hard at times, but you just gotta make the best of the life you've got.
It's very true.
You're really tough for your age, kid. You're too kind.
And me? Oh, what about me?
You're tough too, Granny. Plus, you're really gentle, and you're always there for me.
Yes, and it's hardly as if I forget everything. I still remember the important things. Wait, what was that really important thing again? Ah, I remember now. It was a dream. I had a dream where everything was dark. Someone was standing in front of me. She told me to come and find her, and that once I'd found her, I would be free.
Huh? That sounds super important. But how come you've never
Could
told
that
me
possibly
about it before?
It
be?
was just a dream, so I forgot about it. But
I mean, I guess it could be Cloud
now,
Retainer, but
and
that would be...
somehow I remembered it again. Ah, you know, I believe I've had this dream a great many times, but just how many times
I
have
mean, they
I
wouldn't
had
mention if
it?
it's maybe not something
Now
relevant to the
that
story
I do
quest,
not
but I do have to
remember.
wonder.
Wait, so you have a reoccurring dream where someone's talking to you? That sounds spooky.
Because it's hard to know in terms
Does
of,
that
like,
mean you're
healing to what
possessed?
extent vision holders have.
Unlikely. Her eyes are clear and her breathing remains calm and level. One sees no signs of possession.
Are you sure?
Who do you take me for? Is one not an adept? Am I not an expert?
Almost doxed herself.
Paimon almost
Oh,
forgot
no.
you're the expert. In that case, do you still
I always think
remember
it's
what
funny, though, to
happens
see. I
when
mean,
you
Zhongli's one of the earlier examples of this. Like, I'm
Not
just gonna hide in plain
anymore.
sight and integrate with the people of Liyue.
I have
And then they
a
proceed to
sense
do
that
things
she
that no
might
human would
be
ever do.
rather like me, but not as I am now. My younger self.
A younger version of Granny? This is just getting weirder and weirder. What is going on here?
As one said, fate must have brought us together. You may leave the situation to me.
Are you sure?
Like,
So,
imagine, though,
what are
you're
your
one of these
names?
two and you just walk up. You eat lunch with these people, and she's like, don't worry, I'll handle this.
Just
We don't
Xianyun
even-
is fine.
Know what she's talking about.
Thank you all so much for offering to help. But first, I'm sorry for asking, but, how do you want us to pay you back? Oh, we don't need any payment for this.
Yeah, that's basically the Traveler's MO at this point.
Thank you so much.
Also, it's a child. Feel like it'd be a little messed up.
What exactly can we do to help out this granny? All we have to go off is that dream. Where do we start?
That is elementary. Since her dreams portray her younger self, then we
Oh,
shall
okay.
retrace the steps of her youth. Once we have revisited those places, her memories will likely return.
I guess that makes sense, right? If you're having a hard time remembering something, giving yourself an
Do you
aid,
remember which places you went to
try
when
and
you
kick
were
your memory
young?
into gear.
Why,
Or
of
if you're like
course
me, you
I
try and hide
do.
something,
The
you know, like a safe
heavens
place, and you
above,
forget where it is and you
the
can't find
earth
it.
below, the wispy clouds, and the emerald mountain streams.
Okay, taking No. I might have an idea. Once, when I was really little, my dad told me that Granny used to be a martial artist heroine who saved loads of people from a disaster. If it's true, then maybe they wrote about
Even
it in the
if she
history
doesn't
books
appear
or
to have a
something.
vision, it's not like there's never been
A martial arts
really powerful
heroine.
non-vision holders. I mean, Beto killed the giant sea beast before she even had one.
About Liyue's chivalric traditions. If anyone knows about the heroes of the past, it's him. Let's go find him at the Xianyun Commerce Guild.
Are you leaving already? But I'm still hungry.
I'll go order some food, Granny. If
There's a
nothing
ton of food
menu
on the
you
table, just
especially
eat
want,
that.
I'll just get a few different things.
It seems we must part ways for now. The Traveler and Paimon are bound for the Xianyun Commerce Guild, while Yuendai and Shuyu shall remain here and partake of their lunch.
Okay.
As for myself, I have matters to discuss with Streetward Rambler.
Streetward Rambler? Oh, you mean Madam Ping!
Precisely. Let us meet at Yujing Terrace once you are ready.
Sure. Kind of seems like we're just going down the line of people that are getting new outfits in this patch, right? Ganyu Shenhe, and I think it's Xingqiu that got the 4-star character outfit. Probably fastest just to run here. Yeah, I've always wondered though, because for a long time we only really had like 1 or 2 character outfits, but more recently it feels like they've been more often, which I think is cool.
It's you two. What brings you here?
Xingqiu! Great, we found you! We wanted to ask you about something.
That's not a whole lot of information to go off of. I don't know if I can say for sure.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint her identity from your description alone. But
A
considering her
nameless
age,
heroine, huh?
I am reminded of a nameless heroine who's been featured in various chivalric novels.
Nameless heroine?
That's right. The novels often speak of a great drought from
Oh.
50 years ago. As the people suffered, a nameless heroine appeared
Oh.
and began to clear away evil spirits in bandit camps.
Is that talking about the
People
Cloud
idolized
Retainer
her,
story, or
but never learned her name.
the person we just met?
All they knew was that she always acted alone. Later, though, she supposedly fell in love with a similarly noble-minded exorcist from Mount Tianhong. They were well matched in more ways than one, often fighting together as a fearsome duo of otherworldly strength. After the drought ended, the heroine and the exorcist left the public eye and began living a reclusive life in the mountains. All that remained were tales of her incredible accomplishments. The way this nameless heroine faded from fame into obscurity later in life is not too dissimilar from Miss Yuendai. I hope that's somewhat helpful.
Thanks a lot, Xingqiu. We knew it'd be worth talking to you.
Well, I feel like
It's
not
nothing
everyone
at
in the
all.
world wants to
Just
be in the
something I came
limelight
across
forever,
while
you know?
reading.
Nothing
I
wrong
did
with
do
living a
bit of
quiet
extra
life.
research on her story, but it was just out of personal curiosity.
Well, Paimon still thinks that's super cool. Oh, wait, Xingqiu, if you've read up on her, do you know of any places often associated with her?
Let me think. In the novels, the nameless heroine always appeared near one of three places. Wangshu Inn, the area just north of Jueyun Karst, and Qingyun Peak. Perhaps the real-life heroine who inspired the character was also often seen near those 3 places. That would explain why those locations appear in the various novels
To be fair,
written about
those
her.
are also some of the landmarks outside of Liyue Harbor that we're constantly visiting.
You're welcome. To be honest, I found some parts of the story confusing when I first came across it. If Miss Yuendai was indeed the original inspiration for the character, she may just be able to help me put the pieces together. It's rare for a chivalric hero to fade into obscurity during their lifetime, even after retiring from the public eye. But no one ever saw or heard from the nameless heroine again.
Oh,
There
maybe
were
it
even
is her after
rumors
all.
that she became extremely ill.
I'm a little confused because they
I've
mentioned the
never
drought,
understood
which I
why
thought would
someone
mean
go to
Cloud
such
Retainer,
lengths to
but
erase themselves from
maybe
public
not.
memory. It's almost as if she was trying to hide from something. There's probably far more to the story than what's been written.
We'll be sure to tell you if we manage to uncover the truth.
There's so many,
That's a
like...
deal. Perhaps.
Like, you could
behind the
argue
truth
there's,
of
like,
it
a lot
all,
of historic
there
stories in
lies a
our
story
world,
more
but...
fantastical than
There's
any
so many,
work of
like,
fiction.
crazy legends
Paimon feels like we
from
just learned
Tibet.
so much from Xingqiu.
You feel like at
The
one point with all the
tragic nameless
travels we'd have
heroine,
heard
a
some of
life
these
of
before we're
seclusion.
told about them.
Wait, why does the story sound super familiar? Oh, right! There's a drought in this story, too! Xingqiu, are droughts super common in Liyue or something?
They live next to a harbor.
They
The
used to be,
ocean is right there in the
but
background.
People have long since developed methods to prevent them.
I guess
Like
maybe
by
further
cultivating
inland.
the soil or digging canals. So while droughts do happen from time to time, they are rarely regarded as true disasters. The drought 50 years ago is probably one of the worst we've had in the last several centuries. The crops withered, the streams ran dry, and the monsters in the mountains became rabid and agitated. Countless caravans were attacked, and people who lost their homes came together to form bandit groups. What started as
Guess
a
that
natural
explains even
disaster
now, all this time later,
soon
why there's
became
so
a
many
human
treasure
tragedy
hoarders.
as well.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, and that's exactly why the nameless heroine was so beloved. She must have been someone of true integrity, to do so much for the people while asking nothing in return. Still, as terrible as that drought was, it was nothing compared to the
Yeah, have you
truly
heard of
calamitous
Conria,
disasters
Xingqiu?
that befell this land in ancient times. They say that back in those days, disasters were both more severe and more common. Only the strongest of Adepti could hope to dispel the ruin and devastation. Do you have any other questions?
We're good for now. We're just going to head back and meet up with Miss Xianyun and the others again. Paimon
Wonder
hopes
what they
that
found
maybe
out.
you and I will be able to remember more of her past. She used to be a great hero who saved many people. So sad that she can't recall any of it. Anyway, we'll be off now. See you some other time, Xingqiu. Thank you so much for your help.
It's no problem at all. Safe travels.
Kind of a weird coincidence, though, that we just happened to meet, like, a crazy famous hero from a long time ago. We're just having lunch at Wanming. Somebody just wanders up. But that's the cool thing about this game. I don't think she'll be, like, playable or anything like that in the future, but whenever they call us back to these previous regions, there's just so much that they could do on top of the characters that we do know that are potentially playable in the future.
I have recorded the tour.
Like, I've wondered if every Harbinger will be
I hope
playable.
it will be of help to you.
Except for, you know,
Oh, thank you.
well...
Straight word, Ping. What has amused you so?
Oh, it's no serious matter. I was just reminiscing about the last time I saw you in this form. Time has wrought such change. in
How
this
old
world,
is Madame
and
Ping?
You
That
appear
she's seen her
just
in
the
this form
same as
before,
ever.
but Shenhe never
Time
has.
has little bearing on one's existence, nor has one keenly felt its effects whilst dwelling at Mount Outsong. Nevertheless, Ping,
You know,
one would like to seek your counsel on a personal
I
matter.
actually have to wonder. Because, and this is something I don't know if they've ever confirmed, maybe someone's talked about it, but there was something about, like, the effects of time, that I think it's called erosion in this universe. Over time, isn't that what A was in the plane of euthymia? Well, part of the reason, right? I wonder if that, you know, with Mount Alkong, or however she pronounced it, I wonder if that has something to do with it too.
Oh,
You know, are there
so
places, like
formal
maybe
of you
holy
say.
ground in a sense,
I must
that
say, you're making me a
helps
little
stave it
nervous.
off a little bit better?
What is it?
Well, the inquiry is as such. Approximately how much more would one need
Oh.
to afford a comfortable life in the harbor?
Just
Not
go work
unlike
for
the
Hu
one
Tao
that
with
you
Zhongli.
yourself lead.
He doesn't do anything 90% of the time, and he
It
can
does
spend
not
all the money he
require as
wants.
much as you may think. Still, do you mean that
Cloud Retainer, Madam Ping! What are you two talking about?
Nothing save for some trivial matters. Have you unearthed any useful details?
Shinto has a theory, but let's save it for when Chuyu and Miss Yundai have joined up with us again.
Do not be troubled, young lady. Here, have some tea.
Thank you so much. What do you think, Chuyu? Does it match up with what you know of your granny? According to the story,
An
the nameless
exorcist.
heroine eventually fell in love with an
Was your
exorcist from
grandpa
Mount
an
Tianhong.
exorcist from Mount Tianhong?
Maybe that's my grandpa. I don't have many memories of him, but there was this one time I found a box in our attic full of a bunch of weird sigils.
I wonder, you know, since we seem to be making the rounds, are we gonna go ask Chongyun then? Since I remember when we first were introduced to Shenhe, everyone thought she might be an exorcist in that same vein. But I do wonder, right? Like, we talk about how... Well, I talked about in, like, the Honkai Impact 3rd potential characters coming to Genshin video I made a while back. I think we still have a lot of room in, like, Mondstadt for there to maybe be more members of not only the Knights like Varka, but also the Church of Favonius. Are we gonna get more full-on, like, exorcists, members of the Xianyun Commerce Guild, you know?
I think so too.
I think it'd be cool.
Granny might remember something once she's returned to a familiar place.
What marvelous tea. I can taste the dew's sweetness in this cup. It's as if I was taking a stroll in the mountains, thoroughly one
Where
with
did-
nature and at peace.
Where did she ever end up leaving after she
That's
gave us her
so.
teapot? I've always wondered.
Please drink as much as you like. There's no need to hurry. At our age, it's always nice to slow down and take the time to appreciate pleasant conversation among friends.
Thank you.
Okay, since we have the time, can I ask you something?
So far, this has felt
What would you like to know?
like not a crazy amount like a Xianyun character quest, though. There's been a lot of dialogue with her, but...
Let's go talk over there.
Oh.
This is a peaceful neighborhood.
I love how they always say, let's go talk over there. Like you were standing like 20 feet away, people still couldn't potentially hear you. Let's just take 2 steps over here. Let's just go right here, they'll never hear us.
What's wrong, Shiryu? Well, I've been kind of meaning to ask ever since we started talking in the restaurant. But are you guys all
How does everyone know?
in disguise?
I know she doesn't exactly blend in well, but...
How about that? Well, you guys just seem super special. Plus, I think I might have heard Miss Xianyun call herself an adeptus. Must have been a slip of the tongue. Xianyun, since you were the one who, misspoke, maybe you can explain to Shiryu here what
Let's
you
just
really meant by
pass
that.
the buck over to her.
One is indeed an adeptus.
Oh.
Is that of some concern to you?
I knew it.
You don't sound surprised at all.
Well, one time when I
Yes.
was a little kid, I saw a pure white illuminated crane.
What a
I had
coincidence.
this super high fever, and Granny wasn't around. I was feeling all icky and gross. But then this snowy white
I wonder
crane
what it would
flew
be
down
like
from
to
the
meet
sky.
someone. Maybe a
She put
human
me on her
form
back and flew me to her
of
cool
that crane
adeptus house
adepti.
and fed me some sort of magic potion. When I woke up, I was already back in my bed, and my fever was gone. I really wanted to thank her, but I was too sleepy to stay awake, so I never got the chance. So, I just kind of wanted to ask if maybe any of you have ever met an adeptus like that? A pure white illuminated crane? The only two
Wait, we've made a second
are blue and
crane?
white and black and brown.
Oh.
Have you ever met one that's pure white, Cloud
Oh, was it not Cloud Retainer?
Never has one met an adeptus
Oh.
with such features. One surmises such a description is but a hyperbolic embellishment that oft results from
Oh.
narrative accounts.
Maybe it wasn't her.
That's weird. Was it really just a dream then? Well, even if it was just in my head, it doesn't matter that much anyway.
All I really want is to help Granny recover her memories. I'm really grateful
That's
for all
wholesome.
your help.
Leave it to us! Now that we know the 3 locations, we just need to visit them one by one. Let's go to Wangshu Inn first.
Okay, I'll go get Granny.
Hmm. Right, off to Wangshu Inn we go. Oh. There we go.
Wangshu Inn. Wangshu Inn.
I honestly think it'd be so cool if there was like, could you imagine if you could build a building off like, maybe not even just one, but like those giant redwood trees or something like that?
Very delicious.
With just a massive
And
restaurant
if
in the
you
sky.
look out into the distance, you can always spot a bird that's been left behind by its flock. I believe I used to have a room here. It had a window. Yes, I spent a lot of time looking out that window. Which room was it again? Let me look.
I'll come with.
And there they go.
I'm still having some trouble understanding what she's talking about, but if she's so familiar with this place, that must mean she lived here, right? Wait, huh?
Oh. Well, there he is. I was wondering earlier if he'd show up. Makes
I
sense.
sensed a non-human presence and decided to come take a look.
Do-
If you're here, then there's likely no trouble afoot.
Do they sense Lumina's a human or not? I've always wondered.
It's been a while, Cloud Retainer.
Cause,
I see you have returned to your previous form.
yeah. Well, they've known each other for even longer than Ganyu, right? Or at least around the same amount of time, I'd assume. Yeah, I don't know. I've always wondered. Just because, like, I think there's a voice line about them having, like, outlived the stars or something like that. It was something like that. The Travelers have been alive for a long time. You know? And it's not like stories like this have never had, like, oh, they were cursed or blessed or something like that, so they just live forever. But I've always wondered, you know, when otherworldly beings in Teyvat meet them, do they just assume they're a human that just happens to be able to touch statues of the Seven and use those powers?
I have indeed. I fought alongside her in this form on many occasions during the Archon War.
Oh, wow! What was she like during the war?
Is it easier to fight in the human form than the bird?
Wait, let Paimon take a guess. Was it anything like this?
Oh.
Behold, the glory of one's newest invention, the Bang Bang Continuous Fire Mechanism. Hands up and surrender, or be prepared to face the full
Jeez.
might of the Adepti.
An impressive imitation.
Wait, really?
Paimon knows her all too well.
Even so,
Jeez.
Cloud Retainer was not always as ostentatious as you describe. You may be unaware, but her talent with Adepti sigils is just as formidable as her skill in mechanics. The Archon War reached its peak after Guizhong's death.
Oh.
The Cloud Retainer who fought beside me in those devastating battles was taciturn and solemn,
Wow.
only speaking when she had to activate her sigils.
Were you getting these little, like, snippets about Guizhong's lore?
Can't picture it.
Really interesting.
What happened after that? If you were so powerful in your human form, why did you decide to take up your bird
So,
form again?
I don't like making comparisons between the two to, like, put one or the other down, because I really enjoy both. But, to me, the way they talk about Guizhong almost is reminiscent of what they're doing nowadays in Star Rail with, I think her name was Bai Hung. I still don't know if, like, officially, I know people are theorizing, I really don't know too much about the Star Rail lore yet, that he could be, like, Bailu could be a reincarnation of her, but from that original group in the Luofu. It's kind of similar to that, is what this kind of style of talk
Once
reminds me
one
of.
had bid farewell
A
to
dear
the
friend to a
world
bunch of
warriors.
powerful people that are
What
like
use
heroes
would
from a
one still
previous
have for such a
generation.
shape? When dwelling between mountain and forest, away from the struggles and troubles of the mortal world, a mortal form is hardly the most fitting of choices.
After the war, Cloud Retainer retired to Mount Outsong, only revealing herself to the occasional visitor, and always in her avian form. Although I do believe there was an occasion some 30-odd years ago when
Oh.
she decided to don her human
Well, that
form.
answers one of the questions we've had.
I believe it was for the
Jen
purpose
has said
of...
for 10 years, so she hadn't seen
One
it.
believes
That
there
makes
is
sense.
little need to relive bygone matters.
Granny, are you okay?
Back then, at this place,
Perhaps this conversation should end here. I shall take my leave now. Should you encounter any trouble, you need
He seems
only
to be
call
doing
my
better.
name.
That's good. He's more
However,
talkative
given
this
that
time
you are
than when we
traveling
usually
with
see him.
Cloud Retainer, I trust you are in good hands.
Everyone!
And there he goes.
I think Granny is finally beginning to remember her past.
Slowly now, calm your mind and recount what has been recalled.
a long time ago, I stayed here to recuperate from my illness.
Huh. So what Shinto said was true! You did fall ill! Was that why you went into hiding?
Well, so the only other big medical facility I guess we know of in Liyue would be Baiju's pharmacy. And from what we know with like Chongsheng and such, the snake, a lot of the hosts don't live a long time as far as I understood it. So I wonder, just age-wise, I don't think he would have been alive back then, so maybe this was the go-to place.
I don't remember. I'm very sorry, but I can't even remember the name of my illness. The only thing I can remember
There's
is
no
that
cure
it took
for
a
it.
great toll on
Well,
me.
It was a long time ago,
and
and
there
you're...
was no cure for it.
Hmm.
I was confined to my room in Wangshu Inn, where I spent many days unconscious. I'd come to every once in a while and stare at the migrating birds outside the window. It was a solemn sight. I remember crying, but I'm not even sure I knew why. One day, I met a traveling merchant. Upon hearing
I feel
of
like
my
a lot of
illness,
NPCs in
he
this world
sold
look
me a
exactly
bottle
like
of
this.
soul-revitalizing tea pills.
Could that be? Speaking of Chongsheng, I wonder if that could be
Pills were
one of the
concocted
previous
using
hosts.
Adepti blood,
Maybe
and
not,
could be used
but that'd be
to
cool.
alleviate my symptoms. Sure enough, I made a full recovery. My illness remained dormant for several decades after that.
Oh.
Wait, but if your
Huh.
illness remained dormant for several decades, are you saying that what you're going through now is just a relapse of what happened all those years ago? And it was all thanks to the pills
Yeah, 30K.
that you
What's up?
managed to keep the symptoms in check? Paimon's brain kinda hurts. Do you remember anything else?
I'm sorry, I don't. Oh, if only I wasn't so useless.
Hey, you're not useless. You've done so much for me.
Oh, where did I get the VTuber model? So,
Raised me.
for a VTuber model, what I did, I think there's different ways you can do, but there's a program called VTube Studio on Steam that you use. It's what a lot of people use. I think there's a couple versions, but I use VTube Studio. I commissioned a model on Fiverr from an artist, and then they do what's called a rigging process. But VTube Studio allows you to basically use your phone camera to have it mirror your movements. But yeah, I commissioned it off Fiverr. I think there are free versions if you wanted to try it out, though, on that Steam app.
Oh, fret not, dear child. Granny was just a bit frustrated. That's all.
The recovery of a person's memories is a gradual process. Finding pieces of one's past is always superior to not finding anything at all. Let us make haste to the next location.
Next location.
What if you play on console?
Oh,
I'm not 100% sure on that. Because I don't know exactly. I used to play a lot more on console than on PC, but I'm not sure what the options there are. Because I think you can stream off console, right? But I wouldn't be able to... Sorry, I'm not too sure on that one. And Harvard. Yeah, I do have Xianyun. I have not had a chance to build her because I haven't gone to the new area yet, so she's level 20. She's an interesting character.
Landmark there, so where should we start? Oh, Paimon's got it.
Well, I know you can do, like, Genshin at the very least on console. I'm just not sure, because the way you rig a model to use an OBS is what the program you use on PC to stream. Is, you put in different, like, programs to run at the same time. Yeah, you can go live on console. Yeah, I'd have to do some research on that. Because I really don't know if there's an alternative for a model on console. Sorry, I wish I knew, but
After all, if she was there for any length of time,
not sure on that one.
stayed somewhere, right? Oh, Paimon's really got her thinking cap on today. At this rate, we'll recover all of Granny Wendai's memories in no time.
It's the Northern Trading Cards. Oh, there's multiple locations to go here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much longer this character quest is. Usually they're about 2 hours, I think, if you listen to all of the dialogue. Going over here. Oh, you're good, 30k. I totally get that. So far it's an interesting character quest. For sure. Hey, thanks. Yeah, they do a good job with the character quests in Genshin. I enjoy streaming them. Yeah, have a good one.
I don't remember this place at all. I don't think I've ever been here before. Still,
Oh, they're not like super professional or anything.
This place feels
I've made a couple like tier list videos that were super wrong. I enjoy making stuff, but I just do it for fun. Like, I made a tier list on like how strong I thought at the time Genshin characters were in lore, but I made one of the categories so ridiculously broad that like I had like 40 comments just being like, yeah, you shouldn't have put these in the same category, and I was like, you are absolutely correct. But yeah, I just stream games like this, like Arc Knights and stuff, and occasionally some roguelikes, but
Huh? Why a game of hide and seek?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I used to play that game a lot with Xianyun when she was younger.
I don't remember playing it that much. Are you sure about that, Granny? We only played a few times, and we stopped once we realized I was no good at the whole seeking part.
Ah, is that so? Then I must be mistaken.
Not here then. Let's try somewhere else.
wonder if this is one of those quests where you have to go to all 3 positions, or if I just guessed wrong. Because ultimately, if the goal is to bring Tip Genshin, it's, yeah. Yeah, I know, I mean, Genshin still, after all this time, is pretty popular. The couple Genshin videos I made they definitely did better than the Arc Knights videos. But ultimately, like I said, I just stream and make videos very rarely, honestly, for fun. I just enjoy doing it when I don't have classes and stuff for college, so. Oh. Yeah, I'm surprised, like, I guess it's not crazy because there are games that have been around for a long time. Oh yeah, that is fair. But, it's just crazy to think. But there have been games, I guess, like Minecraft and League and whatnot that have been around for longer. I do think Genshin will continue to be big, though, until at least we get through the 7 major regions. I know there's theories about what'll happen after that, but, you know.
I don't think I stayed here too long. I might have just rested here briefly before continuing on my way.
Got it. That's okay. There are still plenty of other places we can check.
Wait a second. If I remember correctly...
Oh, it's just a random event.
Ah, yes. I brought some sweet snacks with me. Go on, take some. You need to eat a lot if you want to grow big and strong.
Well, she seems like a nice lady. Yeah, sure. A lot of them aren't built, but I've been playing this game for a long time. I usually do Welkin Moon and, Battle Pass, which I feel like gives you about a soft pity a day, but my builds aren't good. I usually don't go for crit because I have terrible luck with artifacts. But I've been running the Navia team a lot recently. I used to play a lot of Raid and Eula. I think Quicken's fun, but it just kind of depends. I think, yeah, this point's on who I have at 90. You have Kazuha? Yeah, so I've always... I think my strongest team for Spiral Abyss is my Zhongli, Hu Tao, Yelan, Kazuha comp. He's really good. I don't know when his last rerun was, but he's good. Yeah, I'm not sure when his next rerun will be, but I'm sure it'll be soon. He's a good character for sure. I think of the Swirl characters, he's the strongest. I know a lot of people compare Skit to Venti, but I think Kazuha's a little bit more focused on debuffing, whereas Venti's a little more focused on crowd control. I'm sure you'll get him one day. Genshin's usually pretty good about doing reruns, although I remember, was it his first or second rerun? Became a meme for a while. Here, I could look up too, while we're talking, about when his last rerun was, because that'll give us an idea of when it'll pop back up. When was the last Kazuha? Okay. It was July of last year, it says. In 3.7, so I'm pretty sure he'll probably have another rerun. Don't quote me on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had another rerun before the end of Fontaine. Yeah. Yeah, the update's usually pretty good. I know there's channels that, like, fully calculate out to how many Primo Gems you can get a patch, but yeah, if it was 3.7, I can't imagine it'll be, like, crazy soon. But I would not be surprised. Yeah, that is fair. I mean, one thing about Genshin that I've found is helpful is just because I've played for so long, it's easier to save. But like Star Rail nowadays, I'm having that issue. No, I totally get that. Last location here.
Paimon sees an abandoned house! Why don't we take a break over there?
This place... it's...
Wonder if this is where she lived in the past. There's a lot of, like, strangely... Well, not strangely, but abandoned, like, housing areas in Liyue.
Xianyun, this is where your father was born.
It's interesting, though, because I can't recall there being a whole lot of, like, abandoned areas like this in other nations.
So your grandpa was supporting me. We fled together with some being in the fog behind us in hot
I guess it's just as far as, like, where people lived.
I had exhausted my strength when the labor pains came on, so we took refuge in this house. Your grandpa set up a barrier outside, but neither of us knew if it could hold the monsters back. I remember that night. I remember falling to my knees, reciting a prayer over and over. I alone am the source of this sin. Punish me as you wish for forsaking my oath.
I feel like this character quest is not focused on Cloud or Tanner as much as some of the other character quests do. But this is really interesting.
I don't know. I don't remember. I only remember praying in the darkness with all my strength until the sun finally rose again and the fog cleared out. Eventually, the house was filled with the sound of my baby's first cries. That baby was your father. I remember I clutched him tight.
I wonder what happened to them too, because
tears of joy.
We know both Chuyu's father and mother passed away.
My dad?
Yeah, so I wonder what could have happened.
My pride and joy, and so are you, Xianyun. You're so much like him, and I love you both so much. But you're always going to be different from me. Why?
Finish the Archon quest? Is there a new Archon quest for this patch, or are you talking about the, just the Fontaine
I
quest?
don't care what you might have done, Granny. You'll always be the person I love more than anything.
You're too sweet.
The Fontaine quest was really good.
Lucky to have you with me.
I was taking a break from
If
streaming
not
at the
for
time,
you,
but
I would not have had the courage to come here.
people pointed out, but I think,
remember what I had forgotten.
like, they did such a good job. Like,
Alright.
people hated Farina at the start of
Let's not stand
Fontaine,
around
and, like,
any
the opinion
longer.
flipped with just how good the
There's
writing
one
was.
place left,
Like, I would
yes?
never have predicted the,
Let's go
plot
take
twist
a
there.
If one recalls correctly,
Makes me really excited, actually, for the stuff with Murata and Natlan, or Natlan.
I may be a bit slow, but I'll do my best to keep up.
There's already theories about that there.
Everyone waiting.
I think the...
Climb on. I shall carry you to the top.
I'm trying to think of what I've seen. Like, everything's subject to change, right? But I know there's a lot of really cool theories about what happened there. I think the general consensus is that we'll probably meet Capitano there. Who I'm really excited to see because he's been hyped up so much. He's got to be so strong.
All those who grow old grow frail in the end.
But I
do
don't
they
actually know if
not?
that's the case.
First, you lose your memory, then your health. Eventually, you end up losing everything. My only wish is to depart this world with a lucid mind.
Wait, see what
to
they're
free
saying.
myself of this torment and the burden it places upon others.
Fret not. You have my aid in this endeavor.
Yeah, I really do wonder, though, like... Because... I mean, if Cloud Retainer hadn't formed into this form in 30 years, it makes sense that almost no one in Liyue Harbor knows who she is by sight. But I thought Cloud Retainer herself, like the bird form, was pretty well known. So I do have to wonder. Because even in previous Lantern Rites, she showed up in Liyue Harbor.
Does this place feel familiar to you, Granny One Day?
Let me see. How strange. Have I lived here before?
Before, there's no housing here.
When we were at Wangshu Inn and the abandoned house earlier, though I couldn't remember everything, I still felt a sense of familiarity. I could easily picture myself in those places. But here, I don't have that feeling. Perhaps I did come here in the past, but it just didn't leave a strong impression on me.
But did the
Hey,
stories
Christos,
get
how's it
wrong
going?
then?
Yeah, you can't expect everything. I mean, the legends we found, too, on a lot of characters in Genshin are greatly exaggerated. Hi, Anaya. How are you? Yeah, I wonder. I feel like, though, as far as the legends go, they do kind of vary from region to region, right? Like, so much around Sumeru is based around, like, scholarly stuff like academics. In Fontaine, there was that whole theater aspect, but I feel like especially in Inazuma and Liyue, with the Adeptus and the Yokai, we saw a lot of, like, almost folktale-like stories.
Yeah, that's true. But they're also the only thing we have to go off of. Paimon was hoping this place would jog Granny Uendai's memory just like the others.
I'm sorry to disappoint
The format
you
of this
two.
character quest reminds me of a couple others. Was it Hu Tao's that we were trying to help someone... Maybe not remember, but traveled from place to place.
Thank you.
I guess you could argue that's
Only
every
I
character
could
quest, but,
remember.
you know.
Huh? That way. What's that mountain?
Oh, let Paimon look! Huh? Isn't that Mount Aotsang? Looks like we've come full
Wait, she said she thought she lived here. Did she live on Mount Aosang?
Mount Aotsang. Mount Aotsang.
I guess it's not uncommon for, like, humans to live or train with the Adeptus, right? Wonder if that was the case.
Granny. It's okay if you can't remember. You shouldn't do something that makes you sad.
Mount Aotsang, What am I really?
Mount Outsong holds some familiarity to you?
It does, but I
The thing is, though, I guess if she lived here, Cloud Retainer
Are
would
you
probably
feeling
remember
unwell?
her too. And she hasn't seemed to know anything about her so
feels all
far.
heavy and dizzy.
Unless she's faking it.
What is wrong with me?
Cloud... Miss Xianyun, is there anything you can do?
Let us go to Mount Outsong.
But...
Fret
I'm
not,
sure it'll be
all will
fine.
well.
You have an Adeptus
You
with
and
you. And they know she's an
I've already
Adeptus, even
given
if they
more
don't
than
know
enough
which
to the
one.
pursuit of this endeavor. You may leave the rest to me. I've prepared something that can aid you in suppressing the fear in your heart and restoring your lost memories. It currently resides at Mount Outsong.
When did you do that? We haven't been out the mountain since the beginning of the character quest. Yeah!
I never leave anything to chance. All will reveal itself when we arrive.
Oh, it's nice that they gave this. They've gotten so much better over time with these adventure aids. Because I remember at the start exploring, like, Mondstadt was mostly just, like, flat plains, but Liyue in particular and part of Inazuma was... It was rough. Especially before you have all the Animoculuses and Geoculuses for the stamina. I fell off a lot of mountains and killed characters.
Come on, just tell Paimon already! What's this thing you've prepared?
Is it that?
This is it.
Oh, I guess that was on the table at the start.
But isn't this the mechanism
Yeah, so
that you were teaching
did she
me
know
when
about
we
this
first
person?
got here? Oh, is it another invention of yours?
Precisely. A recent one at that. I am most pleased with the result. I call it the Suspensus Somnium
It's a
mechanism.
statue of a crane.
Periodically releases a soft breeze, which when paired with a gentle adeptal tune, can help the listener subconsciously relax.
Oh, is this going to be one of the ones where we enter a
even
dream?
enter a semi-hypnotic
That'd be
state.
cool.
Soothing agitation and anxiety, relieving exhaustion
Man,
and insomnia.
I need that myself.
Its potential uses are
Be
numerous
great.
indeed. And of course, it can also aid in the recovery of lost memories.
Whoa, what a cool gadget! But if you had it all along, why did you keep it to yourself until just now? We could have come to Mount Outsong right off the bat and saved Paimon a lot of floating.
How preposterous. Had Yuendai not recalled much of her past through her own efforts, the device would have nothing to draw upon. We Adepti can only help those who first resolve to help themselves. Had she lacked such determination and strength of character,
That's fair.
one would have little to offer in way of assistance.
Paimon thinks she gets it now. Hey,
Kind of the idea of, like, helping someone help
As
themselves rather than
previously
doing
mentioned,
things for
a
them.
gentle adeptal tune is required to take full advantage of the mechanism.
Oh, okay.
One secured such a tune from Streetward Rambler. Only with her melodies can the mechanism reach its peak power.
Whoa, Paimon can feel what you mean.
I'm surprised we still haven't met, like...
Feels light as
We've
a
always seen
feather.
so much more Cloud Retainer than, was it Moon Carver and Mountain
Touch of
Shaper?
grass
Feel like we never
after a
see them
super
anymore.
satisfying meal.
She's always been, like, the most prominent of the three.
And you and I, is the mechanism helping you to relax? It appears she has already succumbed to the depths of reverie. Come, join one on this side. We shall give her some time to herself.
The drought is over. But why do you look like you want to cry?
The potion. It's nearly run its course.
Oh, the potion she was given from, like, the wandering
Never regretted meeting you.
apothecary?
Not even for a second.
Please. Please, no.
Goodbyes are never easy.
Have you forgotten? This is the world
Oh.
you left behind. One of gentle breeze and morning dew. perfectly straddled betwixt the realms of heaven and earth. This is your home. This is where you belong. You should have never left. The you of the past, the me from not that long ago. We should have never.
So, wait, was she an Adeptus at some point? Was she the pure white crane that saved Liyue as a child?
So that is the truth. No wonder this
Aw.
place is so familiar. Granny!
That's crazy.
Are you okay?
I wouldn't have expected
Cloud
that.
Retainer.
Ow.
Your
I butted my
memories
mic.
have returned.
Wait, did you just call her by her full name? Does that mean you already knew each other?
Yes. I
Okay.
now remember everything.
So Cloud Retainer did know. That's what I was wondering for most of this quest.
Granny, please don't cry. I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, don't worry, my dear child. Granny is fine. I'm so sorry, everyone. You've gone to so much trouble on my behalf. It's all come back to me now. The most important thing that I had forgotten was the truth of what I once was.
So what that makes me wonder though is, as far as other, like, is there a way for like an Adeptus? What it almost reminds me of, and I don't know if this is the correct way of looking at it, but if, like, with the old Lord of the Rings series, when I can't remember her name, but the elf that was in love with Aragorn chose to live a mortal life, is there some kind of consequence to maybe switching from being an Adeptus to fully living as a human? Because as far as we've seen, you know, Zhongli's essentially done that. Cloud Retainer seems to be maybe doing that in the future as Xianyun. I guess Ganyu was always half and half, but is there some kind of adverse effect to that?
One can sense the guilt that now plagues your conscience. Reclaiming a truth long buried is sure to come with a myriad of complex emotions. Perhaps one should recount the story on your behalf while you compose yourself.
No, it's okay. Now that I've remembered, I must face my memories head on. Shuyu, everyone, I cannot thank you enough for all your help. I'm ready to tell you my story, if you're willing to listen.
Please, Granny, don't force yourself. What happened in the past doesn't matter. I love you more than anything. Nothing you say can change that.
I know, dear child. My feelings for you are exactly the same. It is for this reason that you deserve to know the truth. Some time ago, I made a terrible mistake. One for which I could never atone.
Is this the sin that you mentioned in Xianyun Karst? What happened?
I am, in truth, not a human being.
Oh, she wasn't
My
an
real
Adeptus, she was just a
form,
crane?
one that I held for centuries, was that of a
Well,
wild crane.
So they talk about sin, and maybe it kind of aligns with that, but in the Fontaine Archon quest with what happened with, like, the water elementals, I wonder if that is some kind of, like, big, quote-unquote, crime against Celestia. That's interesting.
I spent
Maybe that's it.
many years living on Mount Outsong, bathing in the soft breeze and drinking the sweet dew of the mountains. At some point, I somehow gained wisdom and sentience. The Lord of the Mountain, Cloud Retainer, became aware of my existence and began to share many stories with me. She even passed on the secret of cultivation to me. Though she never took me on as a formal disciple, I always saw her as my master. Whenever she took out her tools to work on mechanisms or new inventions, I would also stand next to her and watch. I even contemplated completing my training and becoming an Adeptus in my own right. I followed her teachings, and time gradually passed us
They just
by.
casually drop lore, like, potentially a
Until
regular
that
crane could become an
fateful day,
Adeptus.
50 years ago.
Just casually.
50 years ago?
During the drought.
That's right. Master regaled me with many stories of her past deeds. From them, I
Okay.
learned how she had saved people from a
Well, Cloud
similar
Retainer
crisis
wasn't
in the
punished for it. What
past.
did she do?
She was the one I looked up to the most. More than anything, I dreamt of becoming an adeptus like her. I wanted to travel the land like she had, relieving suffering wherever I went. But I was still far from being a real adeptus. I possessed no ability to take on human form and fit in with the crowd. Once she learned of my desires, Master prepared a special dose of human mimicry potion for me. She warned me that the potion's effects would only last 10 years, and if I were to fail to return to my original form at the end of that time, I would forever forget my
And maybe that's
past
what
as a
caused her,
clone and become something neither
her parents
human,
and her children to be so short-lived.
Oh no. So that was
Well,
the source of your dementia.
I guess that would
all
only make
along.
sense for... I don't remember if she mentioned if it was her son or daughter that she had, but I guess that wouldn't apply to both of them? I'm confused. I'll be honest, I'm sure someone will be able to figure that out, but...
Indeed, I fell in love. Though he was human, he had spent his entire life training on Mount Tianheng. When we met, it was not only my first foray into the world below, but his as well. Although clumsy and impulsive as he was, you'd think he was the real strange bird among the two of us. But still, just like me, he cared deeply about the world and wanted, more than anything, to cleanse it of all pain and suffering. I could not help but fall for him. But my time continued to tick away. Those 10 years passed by in a flash. Yet I did not want to leave his side, so I...
Oh no.
Is there a particular reason that Cloud Retainer could not have just given her another
I wanted to stay
10-year
with
potion?
him, even if it meant living a life full of pain and suffering.
Am I thinking
Even
about this
if
the
it
wrong
meant
way?
that I would eventually turn into a monstrosity. I knew I had betrayed Master's hopes, but I was too ashamed to face her. So I wrote her a long letter instead and asked someone to leave it outside her abode. I was convinced that she would not support my decision, and I lacked the courage to speak to her face to face. In my shame, I fled and tried to hide from the world, such that no one would be able to find me again.
I'm still confused on to how she stopped the drought, to be honest. But to be fair, we've seen, even just since the start of, you know, our experience in Genshin with the Traveler, that Cloud Retainer's changed a lot. You know, there was a point where Ganyu was kind of called back even to continue her Adeptus training. I think the opinion of the humans in Liyue Harbor, especially since what happened with the Millilith originally stopping like Osail and later Beisht, did change their opinion on the people within the nation. So, who knows, back then she might have actually been more angry about it.
That was only the beginning of my troubles. I began to suffer from a strange illness. My memories became hazy and confused, and I could no longer keep myself awake. I understood that my pain was caused by my refusal to return to the life I was fated to lead. Along with my memories as a crane, I soon forgot the true cause of my suffering as well. I knew only that I had committed a sin. All I could do was pray for forgiveness, even if I had long forgotten what needed to be forgiven. Looking back, I was beyond lucky to have come across that traveling merchant at Wangshu Inn. It was such
I
a
really do have to wonder
that we were there at the same
if that was a
time.
previous
If it weren't for those
host to the Snake
soul-revitalizing
Changchun.
tea-pills,
That's with
probably
Bailu. His name? Why am I drawing a blank now? Baiju. I was thinking Bailu from Star Rail again. But I really do have to wonder. Because that would be the first thing that comes to mind, and I would not imagine Baiju was alive back then. He doesn't seem that old.
Granny, what's wrong?
Coincidence? Why did I ever think it was a coincidence? Tea pills concocted using the blood of an adeptus?
Or Cloud Retainer just gave it to him. That could be it too.
Master,
Don't tell me. Back then.
Oh, or it was
that
just her.
merchant was actually.
Oh, I was wrong.
Human
Okay.
custom would dictate the
Huh.
conferral of gifts to be in
They even
order
showed like a
when one's
screenshot though of it,
progeny is
and
wedded.
did not look like
Would it not?
she
Consider
does
the
now.
pills a symbol of one's best wishes.
Huh.
So when I tried to conceal my name and mistakes from the world and hide myself away in perpetuity, the only person I managed to deceive was myself. You knew where I was all along.
One still remembers when you were but a fledgling. You possessed a certain fondness for a particular game. You would hide yourself among a group of wild cranes
and that's the
ask
game
one
she
to
said
pick
she
you
remembered
up from
playing.
among the flock. One found you with such ease every time. 'Tis a truth most evident. One always recognizes one's own, no matter what form they may take.
Wait! Paimon's confused! So, Cloud Retainer, you found Yuendai again? But how?
Well,
When? And what happened after that?
it explains how she made the statue. I don't know if she knew
Perhaps
she
it
was
is
going to
now
stumble
time
into
for
her,
one to
but
recount the rest of the tale.
oh. Okay. I was wondering where we'd get. Maybe this is where we get the domain we try her out on. Yeah. I can't remember if every single story quest has done this, but most of them do. Yeah, see, she was mad.
One set out to bring you to your senses.
It's a pretty area. So is this what Liyue looked like in the past? That's interesting. It's not like terribly different. Like the overall landscape seems similar, but definitely not the same.
In truth, one had
Oh.
more than a few misgivings about your chosen partner. As an exorcist, his talent was lacking. One could hardly say his skill with
I
sigils
really do
was
hope
any
we get
better.
more exorcists in the future.
But
Seems
soon,
like an interesting
one came
organization.
to appreciate the devotion he bestowed upon you during your illness. He never uttered a complaint and rarely left your side. Unwilling to begrudge someone of such character, one decided to overlook his aforementioned deficiencies, glaring though they may have been. Wishing to grant you a life without regrets, one gathered many divine ingredients and used one's own blood to create a form of medicine. Though imperfect, it managed to suppress the more dire effects of your illness. As for how to deliver the medicine, after much contemplation, one eventually decided to perform
Yeah,
the
see,
deed
that's...
oneself. One took great care to alter one's features and select the appropriate attire. Only after meticulous scrutiny did one finally set out for Wangshu
So,
Inn.
something that is still confusing to me, and maybe they'll explain it here in a bit, is if she was just a normal crane who became a human, did that affect her lifespan? It's so hard to tell, because I didn't know, at least I don't know if it was mentioned until this point, that there was even potential to, like, I guess in a sense, ascend to becoming an Adeptus from whatever you were before. But, like, as far as Adeptal blood goes, it seems like it's pretty dominant, because Ganyu's been around for a long, long time, and she's only half Qilin. So I do have to wonder.
As one expected, you were most ignorant of one's true identity. You showed not even the slightest inkling of recognition. One was quite torn. Should one have celebrated the success of one's disguise, or mourn the loss?
Hey, it was a fancy mustache. Mustache does wonders. You'll never recognize him. Of resurrection, so there is a fight. That or an opportunity to fall off a ledge. And if there is one, I'll find it. If I just Is it her skill? Okay.
Nevertheless,
Okay, we can
one
climb.
would speak to you about another matter.
Uh-oh.
If you are amenable, even considering.
Well, I I did say it would probably happen. Alright, so am I just meant to jump and then... Okay, I guess I just got in a weird part of the rock. I'm really interested to see what team she fits in, though. Because for most animal characters, the first thing that comes to mind is Squirrel, but I don't know if that's actually what she's meant to be used in. Such a cool animation, though. And I've been hoping that they'll make more, like, good-feeling Catalyst users, because that's sometimes a problem.
Stray clouds converge.
Yeah, she has some healing in her kit, because we were missing healing from when we, fell off the edge.
Make way for the Adeptus.
But then again, we have characters like Farina nowadays that have healing in their kit and also do a lot of damage.
Those monsters would hardly have pursued you with such ferocity
They
without
remains.
sufficient incentive.
Were those the divine
They're
materials
likely
she used?
incited by the presence of godly
If it was
remains.
like super rare materials, I guess it makes sense why she couldn't just
Said
make
godly
more.
remains, in turn, were likely drawn to the trace of one scent on your body. One was, after all, an active participant in the Archon War.
Yeah.
Some of the gods were likely shattered by contraptions of one's very making. In the end, one was
I'd love to
relieved
see like a
see you
spin-off
endured
story
through
or
the
game
night.
of the Archon
Break
War.
of dawn,
That'd be nuts.
one heard an infant's cry
Just from all the
pierce through
pieces we've
air,
gotten.
and one saw you carefully cradle the child to your chest. Although certain mortal matters remain foreign to me, one could not help but be moved by your joy. To see you happy, that was more than enough.
That's really wholesome. Kind of sad, but part of life, you know? Sometimes you just go on different walks of life from your friends or the
Now
people
you should
close
have
to
a
you,
complete
and that's okay.
understanding of the events.
Wait, but if that's true, then the crane who took care of me when I was sick must also be...
Ah, one had almost neglected to recount the absurdities of that tale.
So was it Cloudertanner or was it... That's another thing I'm still confused on. Every time we get these... I wouldn't even say this is the most complicated story quest they've had in terms of story, but I always just... I predict things and then immediately am wrong.
Just as you and I troubled one with her antics, so did you give one many a headache. Upon finding you burning with fever, one made plans to bring you back to one's abode for treatment.
Oh.
However, upon seeing one's form, you began to cry, refusing to get on one's back. When one asked you why, apparently you believed that one could not possibly be a true Adeptus, because all illuminated cranes are white from tip to toe.
What if as a kid you believed that and
No
one that
choice
didn't
but
look
to
like
apply
that showed
powder
up?
to one's body to conceal the
Be
variegated
terrified
nature
too.
of one's appearance.
So it was
You became more
Cloudertanner.
than amenable enough when one stood before you devoid of any other coloring. It bears mentioning, however, that
I mean,
as
everyone
a
had some weird things they
you
believed
and
as a
I was
kid.
nearly entirely pure
That's just part of
red
being a
in
kid.
color. Though you had never encountered her in that form, you still recognize the essence of her being.
Mhm.
Perhaps fate brought you two together in more ways than one.
She's a grandchild, you know?
Now all has been revealed. One owes you an apology, you and I.
She did,
One
okay.
recognized you upon your very
But
entrance
that also
into
made me
Wanli
wonder, was her
restaurant.
intention really to go to
One
Liyue
has
Harbor to find
always
her?
viewed you as a
She
disciple
played it
of
off as
equal
just, let's go check
standing
in on
with
Ganyu and Shenhe.
Indeed, one wished to bring your story to a satisfactory end with this visit to Liyue Harbor. Still, one could not reveal your identity right away. Had one simply informed you of all you had lost, all those cherished memories would merely have become the fictionalized account of
That
another.
does make sense, though. Could you imagine
Memories are
someone
most
coming up and just tell you
meaningful when
that?
recalled by those who lived through them. Would you not agree? Even if the process was painful and arduous to experience. Have you any further inquiries?
Master, I must ask. If you found me all those years ago, why did you leave me be, even though you knew about my mistake? Why did you not bring me back to Mount Outsong by force?
One has never regarded your action as a mistake. It was a simple choice, nothing more. When it is time for one's progeny to leave the nest, it is the responsibility of an elder to let them fly free. Yet, when your wings grow weary and the night grows dark, just know that you always have a place to which to return. 'Tis a refuge referred to by many a name in mortal writing.
That's really
Home,
wholesome.
Nest, haven. Whatever its denomination may be, its essence remains quite unchanged. One speaks, of course, of a place not unlike one's own abode. One's disciples are free to come and go as they wish, yet the door remains forever open to those who wish to return. One rather hopes you count yourself among them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You and I. One expects you too have sensed the rapid deterioration of your condition as of late. Have you not? 40 years ago, you chose a path without a future. Though one used one's own blood to provide you with a few decades of extra time, it merely delayed the inevitable. One may have extended the path, yet one was unable to.
I mean, a few
alter its
decades
final
is
destination.
maybe not in the lifespan of an Adeptus, but that is a
Even
long
the
time.
power of an Adeptus has its limits. Had your condition continued to deteriorate, you would have forgotten your life as a human entirely.
Oh.
In the end, you would have turned into a creature lacking in the ability to even comprehend its own monstrousness.
And you couldn't tell her that
Fortunately,
before?
you were able to
You gave
avoid
her
that
the-
scenario by reclaiming your memories. Though one sped the process along by providing some guidance, the result is entirely a reflection of your own.
He does seem like a good teacher, though, overall.
What's gonna happen to Granny?
One will help her reclaim her original form as a wild crane. If it be fated, she
What's
may
gonna happen to
recover her
Xianyun?
sentience one day.
She's gotta go back to being a regular crane, huh?
Master, you've already done more than enough for me. I don't know how I could possibly repay your kindness. This is a better result than I could have ever hoped for. How much time do I have left?
Not long. The transformation is imminent.
Oh.
Granny, please don't leave, okay? You're all I have left. Please.
Don't be sad, dear child. Granny has led a wonderful life. My only regret is having to leave you behind. Don't forget to eat well, okay? A growing young lady like yourself needs lots of good food to grow big and strong. Promise Granny you'll take good care of yourself when I'm gone.
I promise, Granny. I'll do whatever you say.
Good girl, good girl. Don't worry. It's not goodbye forever. Granny's gonna become the most formidable crane in all of Mount Alpha.
If she's able to ascend to becoming
Granny
an
will train
adeptus
day
eventually,
and night. I won't
that
stop
could be an
until
option.
I can turn into a human
Yeah.
without having to rely on anything but my own power. When that day comes, we'll be able to live together again. You and I. How's that sound?
Good.
That's a good girl. Even though we won't see each other for a little while, as long as we both work hard, we're sure to meet again someday.
I'll eat well, Granny. I promise. And I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes. I'll wait for you to come back.
That's a good girl. Then Granny really has no more regrets. I'm so sorry, Master. Thank you.
The voice acting for this game has always been really good. I don't know about other languages because I can't understand it, but I think they do a good job.
Xianyun.
Let her be. At her age, crying is a natural.
I don't
if
even
not fitting
necessarily know if I'd say
response to
that's
such
just
an
at her
event.
age.
Tears are
What
a
would you even
necessary
do,
part
you
of
know?
maturation. Sometimes there is scarcely a better vehicle to wash away the toll of stress and misery. Now that the issue has been resolved, you should also take a moment to relax. Give yourself some time to rest. Take a nap if you must. One will wake you in due time.
Hmm. Wait, really? How? It's been like an hour. Oh. Never mind. It's a dream. It's been such a long time since we've seen the Abyss
See each other
sibling.
again, that our days of separation would finally end, and all my troubles would be behind me. If only things could stay this way forever.
A nightmare? Curious. If you're relaxed, shouldn't your dreams be pleasant?
It was a good dream. It's just...
You weren't ready to wake up. eloquent as one may be, words of comfort are not one's strong suit. You are doing all you can. One can see your strength of will, your fearlessness in the face of danger. And so, whatever your dream may be, one believes that you shall achieve it. Of course, whenever the perils you face overwhelm you, or you become weary, one is always here for you. After all, as an elder, it is only right to look out for the young ones.
Jeez.
Grilled chicken drumsticks.
Well, we know what she was dreaming about.
Huh? Was Paimon sleeping just now? Oh, Paimon wasn't talking to you. Paimon had a dream about eating grilled chicken drumsticks, that's all.
Madam Adeptus?
Oh, Xianyun, you're awake. How do you feel?
I feel a little better. Thanks. I know I'll see Granny again someday, so I don't feel so sad anymore. Madam Adeptus, could I ask you something?
I was wondering what would happen to Xianyun.
Take me in as a
I was
disciple?
curious if she was going to be taken care of by, like, Madame Ping
And have you reasons
or someone
for
like
this
that.
sudden interest?
I know Granny thought what she did back then was wrong. She felt really bad about it. But without that mistake, I would have never been born. Even though Granny lost her memories, she never forgot to show me how much she loved me. So, I thought maybe one day I could become a cool Adeptus like you and help a whole bunch of people, just like Granny wanted to do.
Upon some reflection, one supposes
That
you
is
are
true,
no
yeah.
mere mortal. The fact that Yuendai's blood flows through your veins is proof enough of that. If this is what you desire, one shall make it so.
Thank you so much, Madam Adeptus. No, I mean, Master.
Xianyun, are you sure about this? Paimon's gonna let you in on a little secret. We've seen Cloud Retainer's 2 other disciples, and they pretty much eat nothing but bitter herbs like Genshin and violet grass. If you join them, you'll never enjoy Wanmin Restaurant's delicious cooking ever again.
How utterly preposterous. One has never enforced such a rule. Every individual must find their own path to enlightenment. So long as one retains a pureness of spirit, one's dietary proclivities are quite irrelevant.
Well, you say that, but Paimon's not seeing any tasty treats up here now, is she?
Although Mount Outsong is rich in natural beauty, its location does preclude access to certain finer mortal comforts. That is precisely why one plans to relocate to Liyue Harbor. Xianyun shall have the
Yeah, I was wondering
honor of
about that.
becoming one's first disciple in the human world.
Whoa, you're leaving Mount Outsong?
Might not be the best way to hide that she's an Adeptus, but at this point I feel like that ship is kind of sailed.
One has never concerned oneself with the location of one's residence. From the very beginning, one has sought only solace and peace. Yet in the end, all of one's disciples ended up in Liyue Harbor. Ganyu, Shenhe, Yuendai, they all chose a life among the mortal world. One has reflected on this fact for many years now. One can only assume that it is due to some failing on one's part as an elder or master.
Well, what everyone wants out of life is always
Failing,
different.
Perhaps of recognizing
There's nothing wrong with
what it was
that.
they truly wanted. One is most curious as to what aspect of Liyue Harbor could have enticed them to remain there. One could hardly offer an opinion on the matter, but perhaps some time in the harbor will prove instructive.
Well, even Zhongli's down there at this point, like...
Why are you all so silent?
Yeah.
Paimon is, just a bit shocked, that's all. So, does this mean we can grab a meal together in Liyue Harbor sometime?
One has precious little time to squander. However, if one finds oneself otherwise unoccupied, one would not be opposed to the idea. One will be assuming the identity of a human while residing in Liyue Harbor. You should take care to avoid disclosing one's true identity.
Don't worry, we'll help you keep it a secret. So, when can we expect to start seeing you in the city?
Perhaps in 2 days' time. One has some matters to see to before one's departure. Preparation is the key to success, after all. One plans to put up various items from one's collection for sale. The earnings should provide for a comfortable
You advertise it
living
as
in Liyue
belonging
Harbor.
to an
One has
adeptus.
already picked out a handsome property near Chuhu Rock. 'Tis no small purchase, but what is mortal life if not one expense after another?
I know, right?
Seems like you've really thought of everything. Then how about we meet up in Liyue Harbor in 2 days?
A sensible plan. See you then. Oh, also, why don't you take this suspense somnium mechanism as a souvenir? Anytime you should feel ill at ease in the future, you may try quieting your mind and sitting in meditation as you listen to its melodies. It might help you find a new perspective.
Does it not need adeptal energy to run?
Hey, didn't we promise Shincho that we'd tell him what we found out?
Oh yeah, huh.
To the Xianyun Commerce Guild?
Did not even think about that. This. Oh, domain challenges. Yeah, sure. Let's wait for 2 more days. Yeah, so many of these quests, they do a good job of making them, like... They're a lot more in-depth than what you'd, like, initially think. Right? Like, it started off as just a casual visit to Liyue Harbor to visit Shenhe and Ganyu. And check on how there's work going, and it kind of evolved into that. I think the ones that got me the most, though, were, well, personally, because she's my favorite character, Yae saying goodbye to the yokai tugged at my heartstrings a little bit. And... But even more than that, I think the one that got me the most personally was when A had to say goodbye to Makoto one last time. I think it was in her second character quest. Like that cutscene too. I think the same person actually voices like the Shogun, Ai, and Makoto, if I'm not mistaken. But just the way that scene was portrayed was gut-wrenching. Hit me hard.
Your concerns are excessive and unfounded. This is but a simple collection of ordinary valuables. Such intense scrutiny is hardly necessary.
To be quite honest, your insistence on that fact is my primary cause for concern. In what way are any of these ordinary? Every single item here could be worth more than everything I own combined. I simply can't risk shelling out that kind of mora without proper scrutiny. If I'm wrong, I would never be able to earn it back, not even if I worked every single day for the rest of my life. I have to be careful. Yes, you can never be too careful.
We're here, Clow. Miss Xianyun, what are you guys arguing about?
I mean, genuinely though, ordinary stuff for an adeptus is probably invaluable to a human. He's not questioning the authenticity.
These items have remained untouched in my personal collection
For hundreds of years, yeah, way to keep a low profile.
To question their legitimacy is pure folly.
Several hundred years?
Indeed. They're family heirlooms, you see. Passed down over many generations, as families are wont to do.
What is she selling?
They've definitely been around a while. We can vouch for her on that one.
Hear that?
I mean, if they're a family heirloom, she probably wouldn't be selling them.
I would scarcely have had the heart to part with them. Indeed, you should consider it an honor to even have the opportunity
Not the best
to behold
actor.
them with your own eyes. Doubt their authenticity any further, and I may just decide to take them to another buyer.
Whoa, please don't go! I apologize for any insult, miss. You see, I know full well that I lack the knowledge
It's Zhongli, isn't it?
the true worth of these items. If you could wait but a moment, I've hired an expert to appraise them for me. He should be here shortly.
An expert, you say? Very well. I will wait for a little while longer then. Traveler, Paimon, this is my new residence. If you have cause to seek my company in the future, this is where you can find me.
Master! Oh, it's you two again.
Yeah, I can't imagine being like a merchant and trying to like buy and sell merchandise and seeing something that's like priceless.
Master made it for me.
What, do you go into debt to buy it and just so you can gamble on selling it and making a profit?
Do I know how to make clothes? With the support of the proper mechanism, sewing is hardly a challenge.
Sewing at like its base isn't super difficult, but sewing something that looks nice is kind of hard. The reason a lot of it's like automated nowadays. My grandma taught me back in the day.
Move them into your room.
Actually, I should probably sort through my stuff a bit first. Everything's kind of messy right now, so maybe you could not look yet, Master. Yeah, that'd be great.
It appears my young apprentice has her own fair share of secrets. No matter. Do what you must, child. Now, this expert you mentioned. When can we expect their arrival?
Soon. There
yeah.
he is.
There's no way it's not.
Here, allow me to make some introductions. This is Mr. Zhongli, a well-respected consultant at Wangshang Funeral Parlor and an expert in all manner of valuables and antiques. Mr. Zhongli, this is Miss Xianyun. She's the one who's looking to sell the collection of valuables I mentioned earlier.
It's gonna be like when he pretended to not know Venti.
If it isn't Miss Xianyun. It has been quite some time since our last meeting. What a serendipitous reunion.
Indeed, most serendipitous. Have you been faring well as of late, Mr. Zhongli?
Quite well, thank you. I was fortunate enough over the past few days to enjoy both a stroll in the mountains and a fresh brew of tea from the most recent harvest. The experiences left me with such insight and peace.
Huh. So you two are already acquainted?
Indeed. How fortunate we are that fate has brought us together again. If you are otherwise unaware, allow me to inform you that Miss Xianyun is a well-regarded collector.
He's much better at acting than she is.
She is well-versed.
Although to be
in
fair,
all
he's been
fields
doing it for a
and
while.
celebrated for her impeccable taste. You stand to gain much from this opportunity.
You are too kind, Mr. Zhongli. True collectors pride themselves on their wealth of knowledge and eye.
Because I feel like, if I remember correctly, even Ning Wang knew almost immediately from voice lines that she's an Adeptus. I don't think Ning Wang knows that Zhongli's Rex Lapis at this point even. As far as I can remember.
Not at all.
She knows there's something off about him,
Not at
but
all.
can't remember there being a voice line of her realizing.
While I am loath to butt into this conversation, I must ask, you two already knew each other, and you seem to have quite a cordial relationship. Can I be certain that you're not working together to swindle me?
That is a very
I mean,
fair
you never
question.
know.
Huh! A preposterous accusation. The heavens themselves would collapse before we would conspire to do such a thing.
Miss Xianyun speaks the truth. Contracts are built on honesty and trust. If that proves to be beyond your capabilities in this
so
instance,
passive-aggressive.
this transaction may be taken elsewhere.
Say no more. Let us depart.
I jest. What fool
Poor
would still
dude.
harbor doubts after Mr. Zhongli himself has vouched for the goods? Miss Xianyun, wait!
Yeah, like genuinely, if he can turn the sale on these, it sounds like he could make a fortune.
I deeply apologize for doubting you. So, Mr. Zhongli, could you please give me a final verdict on the value of these items?
There is no cause for concern. They are indeed rare and precious valuables. Take this mechanism, for instance. Though one may not immediately perceive its purpose, its structure and appearance are exquisite enough to merit it a place in any fine home. The same
No,
can be
I
said
feel
for
like
this
what it
one
does
here.
could be important. She's made a lot of
You could hope
weapons.
to possess an item that so perfectly blends mechanical wonder with geometric grace. I am sure you have heard from your travels that the study of mechanisms is among the most wondrous arts in this world. With that in mind, I earnestly recommend procuring every last item in this collection.
All right. Since I hired you as my consultant, Mr. Zhongli, I shall, of course, trust your good opinion. Then, in that case, Miss Xianyun, I'll take the lot. However, since the final sum is quite large, how about we start with an initial
Let's
deposit
involve the
to the Northland
Fatui.
Bank?
That has never gone wrong with anyone ever.
The Northland Bank? Huh. Oh, you refer to the fiduciary house. Oh, very well.
I fear people only use the term bank nowadays. In that case, I'll be off for now. I'll return to collect the goods once you've received the funds.
Xiangli!
My friends, have you been doing well?
We've been great! How about you? Paimon didn't know you were such a busy consultant!
My days have been quite pleasant as well. I had been quietly enjoying a cup of tea when Mr. Xiaozu requested my services. As for you, Miss
I wonder how much money you could make off being a
I
consultant
presume
in the
you
real
must be
world.
looking to
That's a
settle in
thing
the
for a
city?
lot of professions, I
I
know.
must say, the name Xianyun sounds exceedingly strange coming from you. Perhaps you could dispense of that particular epithet in further conversation.
Whatever for. Am I not addressing you as a friend should?
Well, that is true, but... Alas, refer to me however you will. After all, a name exists such that others may address you with it. One is hardly ignorant of that fact.
It would seem that you have gained many valuable insights over the years, Cloud Retainer.
One has indeed. One's previous days were all brief. Now that one has made up one's mind to move and settle, one has gained a much better appreciation of the hubbub and commotion of the city, as well as the people's hard work and ardor. This city is much changed from how it was more than 1,000 years ago.
Well, people
Not
have worked towards
unlike
it.
the ocean tides, so too shall the movement of people ebb and flow. From turmoil to peace, enlightenment to aspiration. Human society possesses limitless potential. In another 1,000 years, the scene we witness here may change in ways that are impossible for either of us to imagine.
Alright, that's enough reflection for one day. No need to get all sentimental on us.
You make a valid point, Paimon. Now that the sale has concluded, what say one plays the host as we try some specialty dishes together? One must profess great interest in trying bamboo shoot soup.
Perhaps you have forgotten, Cloud Retainer, but I once tried my hand at that dish. You were at the table on that occasion, so logic dictates that you should have already tried it.
Oh? What occasion was this?
It was a reunion between friends several centuries ago. Alas, you must have been too preoccupied to secure yourself a portion. Or perhaps our other
Is Zhongli a
companions
bad
simply
cook?
availed themselves of faster reflexes on that occasion.
Hardly. 'Twas most certainly out of consideration for the others in attendance. In but a moment, one will show you what it means to have a true deftness of hand. It is settled then. Bamboo shoot soup, mora meat, crab roe tofu, triple-layered consommé. We shall enjoy the lot. One has already passed word to Shenhe and Ganyu to make a reservation. It is prime time for them to meet one's newest disciple. Is that agreeable to everyone?
It should be a most splendid occasion.
Shu Yu, come now, it is time
Free
to
food is
dine.
free food.
Ah, this gentleman over here is Mr. Zhongli. He is,
A humble employee of Wangsheng Funeral Parlor. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Nice to meet you too, Mr. Zhongli.
That should be everyone, right? Let's go!
Sounds good. Actually, Master, have you ever tried Adeptus' temptation?
Yeah.
I heard it's impossible to stop eating after even just one bite. You know, 'cause It's super tempting and stuff.
It's also still like the only gold rarity dish we have.
Plausible. Although with the right preparation, certain dishes can be too delicious.
I have wondered for some time now if we'll ever get another one.
Why are you all walking so fast? Hey, wait for Paimon!
Because to be fair, that is probably the strongest food you can get. Still, even after all this time. I don't use food a whole lot, to be honest, but... Because I feel like the one place you would use it is Spiral Abyss, where you can't. But I have wondered if ever we'll get another gold dish. That was a good story quest, though. Like, I wasn't really sure what to expect walking into these Genshin story quests I never do. But it was interesting. I'm curious to see some of these voice lines because it said they were barred behind conversation. Where's that Ningguang one? Ningguang I thought at max level, yeah. Here it is, about Xianyun.
I plan to have Lady Xianyun over
Yeah,
for a
I think I've
casual
heard this before.
conversation over tea in a few days. I happen to have in my possession a number
See,
of
she knows
mechanical devices.
she's an Adeptus.
And I would be most interested to hear her insights on their design and use. It would also be a fine opportunity to hear about her experiences as an Adeptus, adapting to a new life in Liyue Harbor. All I require now is a suitable candidate to deliver the invitation to her on my behalf. Would you be interested, traveler?
See, she knows. Oh, Zhang Li.
Of the Wangsheng Feudal
Yeah, see, she doesn't know.
He's very versed.
That's crazy. Anyway, I am going to run to the bathroom real quick, and then let's work on that world quest for a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I just don't know how long this story quest is. Or sorry, this world quest is. Wait, is this a new one too? No. Okay. Yeah, so we met Fujin. Basically, I teleported here. We had a short conversation with, I think she was an Adeptus we'd never met, and then I ran up to the statue of the Seven. That's all I've done here. But let's explore it a little bit, and then I'll probably do the rest off stream. It's just interesting too, because I know there's a lot of Genshin creators that do stuff like that, though, like 100% explore each region and stuff. But for me, that's when it starts to get a little tedious. Like, I wouldn't do artifact grinding on stream or stuff like that. But as a result, I don't stream Genshin a whole lot, because there's only so many events and story quests. Is this voiced? Does not seem like it is. I'm not gonna read it all out loud. I'm not that good at voice acting, but... Daughter of the Xianyun Commerce Guild's manager. There's a daughter of the Xianyun Commerce Guild's manager? No. Wondrously fashionable attire. I mean, they never really touch on that. I guess with clothing like the Adeptus, it doesn't seem that crazy nowadays, but... Like, their clothing still is pretty distinct. Tea ceremony. They seem to be happy with the tea. Granted, I know nothing about tea leaves, but still. Soil. I mean, funnily enough, this is a bit of a weird anecdote, but I live on a small portion of land where we used to grow alfalfa. Or hay, I guess. And over time, it got, like... I think my dad was explaining, like, different crops will put, like... He said, I think it was nitrogen into the soil. And a lot of people in this area will, like, then grow, like, feed corn for animals. And that's supposed to help remove it, but we never did that. because we don't have the tools to do so. But as a result, if you just farm the same crop, depending on the crop, it gets pretty bad. I think like a lot of farmers out here too, like rotate fields or do similar kind of cycles like that. So I have to wonder if that's something with tea. The Adeptus Fusion, so she's well known. I wonder if she'll be playable. Because at this point, anytime we see an Adeptus, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Pretend that we're the members. Fertilizers. He'd maybe like to meet Cloud Retainer then. Yeah, pretending to be someone you're not with expertise in something you don't have usually doesn't go well. I'll be honest though, I don't think this sounds super... Let's go try and run over to maybe some of these waypoints, and then we'll see. Like I said, I mean, it's just, for me personally, it doesn't have to be voiced. But if I'm not going to voice act it on stream, I don't know how interesting it would be to watch. Because I genuinely cannot imagine how the people who did... Like, because there are people who definitely streamed the entirety of the R&R questline, for example. I actually can't imagine how they did that. So I can just fly, right? Okay, so it just launches you out. That's interesting. It's a little bit more like omnidirectional than some of the other similar systems we've learned. What is that? Oh, that's the symbol for one of those. School area. They keep coming with pretty creative ways to give us adventure mechanics. I really do think they learn from the earlier regions. And that's why I think, you know, a lot of people talk about the quality of life changes in Star Rail, but sometimes you just need time to figure that stuff out. So many of the quality of life changes in Star Rail came about, I think, because of previous games, like not just Genshin, but Honkai Impact 3rd and the previous ones, because they, you know, things are trial and error. It's why, like, I know a big criticism of Pokemon nowadays, and I think it's why so many people like Pal World, is, they feel like Pokemon doesn't make a whole lot of new innovations. Which, I don't even know if that's fair. Like, I didn't play Gen 8, but I heard they did, like, a Gigantamax thing or something like that. But it's difficult because when you have a formula that you know works, switching to something a little more risky could be hard. But, again, at the end of the day, you can find these things that work well. Like, one thing I'm hoping they bring to Genshin is instead of doing daily resin, they just put it in weekly. Like, they've completely gotten rid of, outside, like, your... Well, you still have dailies, but on the pass, it's just weeklies, and then it's just every so many resin you use, or so many Trailblaze power you use, you get points. I think that would be a good system. I don't know how that would translate, but... I personally thought that was a really good change they made. That upping the resin level, it's at 240 in that game. But again, it depends. Even having the same resin limit in different games doesn't exactly equate to the same level of playtime and stuff. But I do think there is the fair criticism, there's always fair criticism, that because Genshin is wildly more successful at this point than Star Rail, in terms of numbers, they don't have to innovate as much. But I also think that level of effort is what makes games like roguelikes so good. Is because you get these really passionate people, a lot of times smaller development teams, so it causes games to maybe take longer, but that's how you get crazy things. Like, I don't know if Cuphead counts as a roguelike, but people pointed out, I know when their last DLC came out, people were like, oh, it's not too much content. But they hand draw with a small team, as far as I understand, every single panel and animation. You know, and when you consider like a singular animation takes how many frames, it's insane to me. Because that's different, I'm sure, than just programming and rigging models like, say, Genshin might do. But let's see. When I looked up the... part of the reason I'm going to this statue too is when I looked up just the new boss, it says we need to find this statue of the 7. And that is ultimately what I'm going to need to farm for Xianyun. Is this a new enemy? Let's see what the drops are. It is a new enemy. I forget. I never play Zhongli in the overworld. It is a new material. I wonder if that's what you'll need for maybe talent materials. One thing I've noticed with my Navia team, I really like running Navia. I've always liked Claymore characters for some reason. That's why I used Raiden Eula for so long. Is I feel like I need more geo application than just Zhongli. Like, you've got Zhongli Pillar, and... what else? Where's this statue? I feel like it's probably above. But I have Zhongli Pillar, but I think probably one of the better combinations is Albedo, I'd have to imagine. I will say, though...
quietly now.
oh, these are what we need to farm for, okay, good. These are the Ascension materials for Xianyun. But when Burst isn't up on Navia, getting those 3 stacks fast enough, because it hurts a lot when you get them, isn't super consistent, and I've struggled with that with this team. That being said, I know when I looked up Navia teams, a lot of people were basically doing this team comp minus Yelan. But I mostly have for exploration. I can't remember who people were putting in instead. We have definitely gone the wrong way. Just teleport back out here. But I want to see. I want to try fighting the new boss. I don't know if I should be following the path or... oh, there's one of these. Yeah, these are nice. And it's a good solution to all the mountains in Liyue. I do have to wonder if they'll ever go back and kind of fix up those old things.
Take it easy.
Because for a new player going through, like, as a new player, one of the positive and cons is you'd have so much content to go through. You know? But it would also... what's this? Oh. Am I supposed to... oh. That's really cool. I'm not gonna do that now, but that is really cool. Where's the statue? Oh, it's right there. But, like, I still can't imagine being a new player and trying to explore all the Liyue cliffs looking for the Geoculus. Because it's terrible. And I know at least for Mondstadt and Liyue, I think those are the ones that affect stamina. Because not having the full stamina bar is brutal. Like, I spent the better part of a weekend twice farming them. And because of that, I don't ever do the new ones. Alright, so it's here, it's underground. So I wonder if that's in the cave we were in. The cave we were in, though, I think had a dead end. Okay, it's just Liyue. For some reason, I have one extra Geoculus. I don't know if they purposely give you extra ones in every region. It'd be nice of them, but I've always wondered, because I don't think I have any extra Animoculuses. But I feel like some people have maybe made pathing videos, and those you just kind of have to get the interactive map and then find them all. The problem being if you don't know which ones you've grabbed. Which is the issue I ran in Inazuma. A little obnoxious. Is there a teleport waypoint? They usually have one pretty close to bosses. But this isn't too far from the statue or this, from the looks of things. Alright, let's fight it. Guess we could take a look at this. You can use Hydro and Anemo. That reminds me... well, I guess the wolf is Anemo and Cryo. Render it frozen while it's using Hydro aligned. Before using Shatter Melt. When it's gathering Anemo, just swirl. Okay. So the idea is... and this makes sense. Genshin's always strayed more towards reaction comps as time goes on. To be honest, I'm just going to see how hard it is to brute force. Is it immune to Hydro?
Gotcha.
It is not. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah, I got decently lucky on my Navia artifacts. They're not the best. But I've never been one for finding perfect artifacts because it never happens. I think my best ratio on... I didn't do my rotation super efficiently here. But my best luck on artifacts is Yai, I want to say, in terms of like crit stats. And I think she still has a really bad specific artifact that I need to replace. I am one short. It's a good thing I never use my fragile resin. Like, ever. And in a given pass, if you do the battle pass, you get what, like... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get 8 a patch, and then I think you get one for getting Welkin Moon, don't you? If I'm not mistaken. Maybe you don't, but still 8 a patch if I haven't been using them. Because I don't play Genshin as much as I used to. I still play it a lot, but just not as much. But they've added some good things too recently in Genshin. The whole auto ad, super nice. Yeah, we need to farm that. I'll have to look up a map for the Clearwater Jades. But I will say, as far as other new characters that I've really, really liked, I was surprised at how much I liked Chevreuse. Where is she? Gameplay-wise, I don't... Like, gameplay-wise, I wonder if her constellations fix it at all. But she feels a little clunky just because of how long the cooldown is on skill. But personality-wise, I really like her. I really enjoyed her in the event we got her in. And I think she's fun to play. I think I switched the weapon over to Zhongli because they finally gave us an HP scaling weapon that wasn't a 5-star, like, Black Castle, I think it's called. But my build hasn't finished on her because I just need to farm artifacts for XP. And the problem with talents on new characters that you always run into in a new nation is I just don't have enough of these. And my highest priority on talents has been Farina and Navia. They've both become kind of mainstays in my comps. But as a result, I just never have enough of the materials. But as far as the build goes for Xianyun, so I've heard that some people are going to do full Swirl team comps. I just decided to go with Song of Days Past, and I'll probably run her as a support. And I believe you're supposed to stack EM and attack. So I think I saw somewhere somebody said you want to have around 200 EM and 3k attack on her, ideally. But this is with an EM goblet that's like halfway leveled. So I'm wondering if I couldn't just find a different attack percent piece and just kind of rely on getting that EM. But a lot of my builds are terrible. Like my Raiden, because I eventually, because my MMO is I usually just pull on the character on their first banner if I want them. And then on their rerun, if I still continue to use them, I'll look at maybe getting one con or their weapon, depending on how many wishes I have saved up. Usually I don't, but I use Raiden a lot as well. Like on her crit stats are non-existent. I just stack energy recharge because I have engulfing lightning. But Yai's probably the closest I have. I have 80, 204. And I think she still has a really dead artifact, if I can remember correctly. This isn't terrible. I think that's, what, 32%? Yeah, I think this had one roll into flat attack. This one could be better. The thing is, all 4 stats on this piece are good if you're running Emblem Energy Recharge. So I wasn't too sad about this piece, but it could probably be optimized better. Especially since I probably don't need 80% crit rate. This piece... pretty much, I think, entirely rolled into crit stats. I think this was... yeah, this was the piece that could be better. Because to be honest, I could switch out for energy recharge and crit damage. I think this rolled into flat HP a couple times. This was the dead piece, though. And then the crown piece isn't bad. Like, again, I could give up some of this crit rate. I personally don't mind having around like a 60% crit rate. But if I replace this piece eventually... the problem is, some pieces I just spend forever farming. I have spent so much time farming the Tenacity of the Millilith domain, and I still don't have good artifacts for Yelan. Like, this piece is not good. And I legitimately think at this point in time, across all the years, I've spent more time farming that particular domain, or is it this one, than any other. Because I also spent a significant amount of time. I used this set on Kuki Shinobu. I spent a lot of time farming this set for my Eula. And I think Eula... I think I actually gave up some stats. Yeah, not the best. To get her switched over entirely to Pale Flame, because she had better crit stats. I think she was at like 6,200 when I was using Gladiator set. But let's see. That had at least one defense roll. Energy recharge, I think, is normally an issue for her, but that's why I always ran Raiden Eula. So, not as concerned, but this piece could be better. This piece is alright. It clearly rolled into flat defense a couple times, but I feel like that's inevitable. This piece has one bad roll. It's not the worst physical damage goblet. It's not great. She does need more crit rate, but when you go for crit damage over crit rate, it'll lack a little bit. But anyways, I guess we could do a little bit more of this. But I don't know how far we'll go. That story quest admittedly took a lot longer than I thought it was going to because I stopped. Oh, can you get the... Hey, open up. Oh, that's cool. Make a material that can be farmed off of them. Yeah, when it comes to these bosses, I like the idea. I think it's really cool, right? It incentivizes bringing cryo characters to freeze it when it's in Hydra mode. It incentivizes bringing like Pyro or something similar for Swirl. The problem is every boss in Genshin, as far as like main level bosses, has to be accessible to everyone. Which means with your stronger teams, you can absolutely just brute force it. Like, I think another really good example, though, and I think it's a good idea of design, in all honesty, is it this one? The one that you need a shield for? You can absolutely brute force it, but it's a lot easier. Like, at the start, I used Noelle for that fight. Nowadays, I'd still probably use Zhongli if I had to farm it. But you can absolutely just brute force it.
Take it easy.
And it's so funny. But yeah, as far as other characters I've been building, I really just feel like I need more... What are my Ganya stats? 71, 163. She could use some more crit damage. But when I see stats like that, I know she probably has a crit rate headpiece. That's not a bad piece. But like, the issue is I've been thinking about maybe raising Diona. So that I could use Ganyu and Spiral Abyss wherever she is. I've even thought about raising Toma to use as a substitute in Hu Tao comp. Because there's so many shielders, they're just not the thick shield that Zhongli gives. But you still need to, keep in mind, like, elemental resonance and such. So, that's one of the cool parts about these games, though, is it can be painful farming artifacts, but if you got godly artifacts every single time immediately, there wouldn't be much of a point in playing this game, and sometimes the grind is a little fun. That's why some of my friends love playing WoW. Even though I watch them do raids every weekend with like 40 people in Classic to not get a piece. I still remember, I mean, I have good memories of WoW Classic. I didn't play it nearly as much as a lot of my friend group, but I still remember the first time I did BWL, my Warlock. The circlet dropped at the very end. I was only against one person, which was crazy because it was a 40-man raid. I rolled an 11, and the other person rolled a 12. About sums up the luck I had in those games. It took me so long to get, like, Mage Blade, and I never got Touch of Chaos. I was so sad. Like, I think TOC was like a 20% drop from... Was it Hakar, or was it one of the middle bosses? It was like a 1 in 5 drop, and I saw it drop twice, and one of the times it was hard res, so I couldn't roll on it. It was upsetting. I quite literally saw mounts drop, which were 1% drops in that raid. It was ZG. I saw mounts drop 3 times, and I saw TOC drop twice. I was upset, but good times. A lot of guilds will host those raids, 20-man, 40-man raids in Classic, but things like mounts are, you know, they go to the guild. But, yeah, that's RNG for you. Like, I didn't even see Mage Blade drop that much. But here we go. They're talking about the T. Problem with the machine, maybe? They do go with, admittedly, some pretty standard NPC models, but I don't think it's that much of an issue. To be honest, if you tried to make super unique character models for every single NPC, it'd be so much more time. And they pop out these patches once every, like, 6 weeks, which is impressive. But it also makes like different NPCs really stand out. I still remember, I think it was an Inazuma event, the lady that had like a flower over one of her eyes. Such a cool NPC. I don't think she'll ever be playable, but it was cool. Mini pie. I really do wonder who the it said the daughter of the manager at the Xianyun Commerce Guild. That's fair. I'll be honest, sometimes I'm sitting there in the middle of a conversation too, and it looks like I'm paying attention. And I'll just be staring into dead space thinking about something entirely different. You make tea cakes? What is a tea cake? I thought you weren't supposed to eat or, like, actually drink the tea leaves. I thought you, like, steeped hot water in it like coffee grounds. But admittedly, I don't have much experience with coffee or tea. I've seen, though, people have really cool... On coffee, this is another random tangent. People make, like, artisanal coffee, and they'll get, like, these crazy expensive machines to, like, press and sort out, like... People always make fun of hobbies like that, but it's just, like, gaming or sports or anything like that. People have, like, super specific hobbies that they get really into, and I think that's great. Super cool. Because I saw someone explain it, like, it's not even necessarily about, like, making the best coffee in the world. It's just about something that they really enjoy, and they get to drink good coffee as an after effect. But it's just the same thing. Like, I've known people that are really into, like, knitting, sewing. Cosplay is another good example. Like, I think it's just those types of things that don't make a lot of sense to, like, the people that aren't into it. For example, like, I've known people who love to cosplay. Even if they never made money off of it, it was something they really enjoyed. But I couldn't imagine spending that much money on, like, doing a cosplay. But at the same time, I've spent money on games that they've turned and looked at me like, are you crazy? You know? Like, over time, you build up, like, on just Steam alone, you build up a lot of stuff, so it's interesting stuff. Miss Oat Moon Tenyi. Our technician, Miss Oat Moon Tenyi, huh? Huh. Interesting. Investigate the water and soil. I want to meet more of that Fujin person. It's because it's so rare that we meet completely new Adeptus. And, like, similar to that, I think another parallel in, like, Inazuma is the yokai. And I feel like every time we meet a new yokai, they end up being playable. Anyways, I'm going to be honest, I will probably just do this world quest on my own time. It doesn't seem super interesting. I still have to do, like, Golden Slumber, a bunch of these. There's stuff that, like I was saying, I could do on stream, I just don't think it's super interesting. But as a result, it's part of the reason why I don't end up having a whole lot to stream on Genshin, unfortunately. But I've always had the feeling, like, certain games, let's fight this thing again, it should have respawned, and I'll need to farm it a lot. But I've always had the opinion with games, like, there are some games, like roguelikes especially, that I could play over and over on stream and never get bored. But then there's some games that, like, I just feel like are off-stream games, you know? Like, it just depends. That's part of what I think is so cool about, you know, just streaming casually. Is I can just wake up and decide I'm gonna stream today. But I think it'd be cool to be a full-time streamer. It's not really been something that's on my mind, because it's tough. And I've really been enjoying my studies, actually. But we'll see. Yeah, I really do wonder. Let's try using... Is she still on heal mode? I always forget to turn her off heal mode. The health drain is scary fast, though. That's part of the problem, too, is you can use Farina just as a solid healer. When you are not running her with a shielder, though, or just a really high HP team comp in general, which she does lend herself, to be fair, to Hydra Resonance, I feel like it's so easy to lose a character with any health drain. It's why, like, Hu Tao and Zhao feel like they're mandatory to run with a shielder. This thing does appear to get a big chunk of damage resistance past the point, which is interesting. I don't know. But I don't even have some of the craziest team comps. I saw someone who... I think people sometimes get a little bit apathetic, unfortunately, towards, like, people who are still working on building their accounts. Because it was someone who was kind of making fun of people, which made me kind of sad. But, like, I haven't ever beaten the Shogun Weekly boss, even at this point in my account, without going at least through the phase cycle. But someone was like, yeah, I just one-shot the, It was just one of those mean things where I think it was a short, I can't remember. But they were like, oh wow, this boss is so hard. If only I didn't have this character to one-shot it instantly, but... I think part of this game's just having fun, but people can be mean to each other, and it does make me kind of sad. Not to say that I never have, because I absolutely have, but let's just do some exploring. I'm curious what's in this area. It's good to get kind of a map out. And then, as far as other stuff goes, I don't know when they'll add another hangout event. It doesn't look like there's one for Gaming. I usually kind of mention this at the end of the stream, but as far as other things I'll stream, I don't know if I'll stream Lantern right when it comes up. It'll depend on when it is, because I still have some stuff to do for my classes. And I know this, I think the Star Rail patch for the new patch, which will be Penacony, because instead of doing 8 patches a region like Genshin does, Star Rail it is appearing will do 6, and I'd really like to stream that as well. So depending on when Lantern Right pops out, we'll see. Because these games often release the events out in pieces. So I never know, because unless I'm going to do like 3 one-hour streams when they release them in pieces, you know, it's tough. So that's why either, you know, in the past I've waited until the end of the event. Which, to be fair, no one's interested in the, like, first parts at the end of the event. Or I just stream, like, the first part. It'll just depend. I'd like to stream some more Across the Obelisk. Obviously, Hades 2 when that comes out. I'm always on the lookout for new roguelikes. But I actually really would be interested in finishing out the second Across the Obelisk save file. I have been playing regular Hades still on my own time, but I've just been working on maxing out all the standard keepsakes, because that's the last Steam achievement I'm missing. But overall, I mean, there's no shortage of things to stream. It's just, is this an actual area we can explore? I don't see a statue of the 7. There's no, like, shortage of things to stream. It's just whether or not I feel like it would be fun to stream. Because, like, I was playing, whether or not I should, maybe. Like, there's a really popular game that, came out recently. It's called Shotgun Roulette. But it's like a crazy, like, I don't know if it qualifies as a roguelike. It's kind of a broad term, to be fair. But, just an interesting concept of, like, a basic game. The style of that game, actually, an art style, actually reminds me a lot of Inscription, which I never went back and finished, because I thought the first part of Inscription was really fun to stream. And then it very quickly, for me, like, in the later parts, I just wasn't having as much fun, so I didn't stream it some more. That's kind of been the way I do things, to be fair, but everyone does things differently. Like, I don't know. Like, I have a friend who has been streaming for a few years, just casually as well. But he streams WoW Classic, and he streams raids, like, I think he just does, like, their guild raids pretty much every weekend. I just don't know, man. Like, I enjoyed playing WoW Classic, but that game is super grindy. I never played much retail, and I was told by friends who did that retail was significantly less so. Like, WoW's a massive game with a ton of viewership, but I couldn't imagine streaming it. Same thing with, like, League. I don't play it much anymore, but I love MOBAs. And I actually used to be, it's a meme in the community, but my ARAM MMR is actually a thing. And the last 3 matches I played before I stopped playing, the average MMR, which is skewed because a lot of people are unranked in ARAM, myself included, but the average MMR for ranked that they match on, like, OPGG was like Masters plus 3 matches in a row, and it destroyed my soul. Because we got crushed. But, I don't know. There's just a lot of games like that I guess the point is, as I'm rambling, just kind of walking around here, that I really enjoy playing, but I just don't think would be fun to stream. League I love League as a game as its core. I still follow pro play, but I can only play it for so long because it gets so toxic. I stopped playing League with a friend too, because when I play games like that, I like to try and win. You know, every game I'll give it my all. And he loves provoking. And when you play League, if you try to provoke people, they get mad real fast. But it's kind of the same reason why I don't do Overwatch ranked anymore, or Rainbow Six Siege ranked anymore. Because I was decent at those games. I wasn't, like, crazy top of the ladder good, but I was, like, above average. But I just don't enjoy streaming when things get toxic.
Take it easy.
Which is also part of the reason I do a lot of roguelikes and more single-player games. Because at the end of the day, when I'm just streaming for fun, oh, that's interesting. I'd like it to be wholesome, you know? don't necessarily want to be streaming something if I'm raging or, you know, I'm playing multiplayer with teammates who are raging. But there are multiplayer games I'd love to play. I haven't played the new Escape the Backrooms patch with my friends. It came out a little bit ago, but I've been doing a solo run. And let me tell you, that game's brutal solo. Like, you can do it. Most of the achievements are for doing it solo, but it is hard. Like, I've had to do it in pieces, like, a couple stages at a time, because it's just mentally taxing to me. I've always struggled, like, I don't struggle with creepy atmospheres in horror games, but jump scares make my heart jump out my chest. And they get me every single time.
Take it easy.
But anyway, this is interesting. Because I've wondered if there would be other, like, harbor-like areas. I wonder if this direct, like, if you could take a wave rider and go all the way over here, if there's a direct link here, or because it's a slightly different color, maybe it's like a waterfall you can't crash or something. But I'm really loving how as time goes on, these pieces of the map are kind of connecting. Like, I'm wondering if there's something here. Because it's just interesting to see the way the map pieces together. How, like, Inazuma's all the way over here. We know there's something north of Mondstadt. Like, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know. I know someone made, like, a conceptualized map of Teyvat. I don't know if it was accurate or if they based it off lore or something. But it kind of showed how everything could piece together. But one thing that makes a lot of sense, too, is we'd always heard from the start that Liyue was, like, landmass-wise, the biggest nation, I thought. But then with what we had, and then what we continued to get, like, Sumeru and everything, it didn't seem like that was the case. But then we're getting the chasm, we're getting the chasm, right? We're getting the branches, we're getting Chenyu Vale. Like, it's starting to make more sense with statements like that. And it really just makes me wonder, like, how much of all that they had planned in advance. Looks like there's another world quest up here. But really cool world. I'm loving seeing it. I'm really excited to see what they do with Star Rail, just because it's following in similar footsteps in a lot of ways. And I think it's going to be really good. Like, I'm really excited for Penacony. I was surprised that they're only doing, it seems like, 6 patches a world, as opposed to 8. But to be fair, a lot of the times with the 8 patches, well, I guess it's 4.0, then 4.13, so maybe it's 9. But a lot of the times it feels like there's very big dips in content in Genshin. Because, for example, with Fontaine, right? We had 4.0, 4.1, 4.2 that had a ridiculous number of crazy developments with the Archon quest. And then we had 4.3, that was basically Navia quest. There was like the fun Beetle event in Liyue. And now in 4.4, the new big content is an expansion of Liyue. So you get these big kind of chunks in time where, like, in Sumeru, I remember there was the patch or two that really focused on the Wanderer story. I think it's a good format for Genshin, where the first little bit expands on a new region, and then they take the rest to kind of do those callback areas to previous areas and events. But with Star Rail and the way that Outworld works, because there's a lot less to do in the open world in Star Rail, I think it makes sense to do fewer patches of world. And maybe this will just be, you know, maybe they'll have like 2.10 or something like that, you know? But I'm excited, because in that game, I don't have as many savings in Star Rail. But I really would like to pull Acheron, Black Swan, and Sparkle if I can get away with it. It'll depend on whether or not I win 50-50s. But the characters in that game are so much fun. Like, Sparkle, I think, is supposed to raise max skill points. Black Swan, I've just needed a better dot user for my Kafka team. It's why I've been using Solo Quantum so much in that game. And I don't know what Acheron's kit's supposed to be, but, like, some characters I just knew I'd pull because of visuals, you know? Like, most people knew they were probably going to try and pull for Kafka, even if it tricked them into building dot teams. But, like, I knew from the start I was going to pull on Chlorand. Which makes me a little sad because, again, you know, leaks are subject to change. I guess don't listen if you don't like leaks. I know some people don't, but from what I've heard, we know, right, Gaming and Xianyun, or Genyun, I can't pronounce it, are the new characters for this patch. I've heard that 4.5 is Chiori, 4.6 is Arlecchino, and 4.7 is Chlorand. I'm probably going to pull on... I know there's the whole thing with Capitano probably being rank 1 and Piero being the director. But with the 5 high rank members, the director Piero, Capitano, Dottore, Colombina, and Arlecchino, if all 5 of them are playable, I will probably pull all of them if I can, except for Dottore. So I'm excited for that. I've heard Cloran and Arlecchino's kits potentially synergize, and I have no idea about Chiori. But I liked Chiori as a character, so we'll see. And that's not even including the random 4-star characters we might get. But I've been glad, because there were just a lot of characters I just didn't pull on in Sumeru because I wasn't interested. Like, I like the personality of Cyno, but for me, Cyno's kit was like Ito's, where I really love the character, but I just don't think I'll use the kit ever, so I didn't pull. Because I've made that mistake with, like, Shenhe. So, we'll see. The east burning incense towards the west. I wonder if this is like a treasure hunt type thing. Build an altar, illuminating all directions. They do a good job with those two, just like random open world things that'll give you some rewards. Because that's one thing that I think people really underestimate about Genshin compared to like Starro. Starro, I feel like, has given a lot more rewards up front. And maybe potentially in events too. I don't know what the exact calculations are. But at the same time, Genshin has a much, much more vast open world. And you get Primo Gems from every single chest, every single waypoint you find, all that stuff. You have to work for it, I guess, a little bit more. There's all these challenges down here and stuff. But in Star Rail, you know, you get like maybe like, what, 10, 12 usually max chests in a new map. And like, I've talked about it before, but there's just so much more. Like, even animations. Star Rail characters can't jump. Not to say, like, put down either game. At the end of the day, I really enjoy both. I think it's fine if anyone enjoys one, both, or neither, you know? Preference, but I just think that's kind of the basis a lot of people make for, like, some unfair comparisons. Because I know a big argument right now is that, Star Rail is more generous towards free-to-play. And I don't even know if I necessarily agree. And if I do, you know, I don't know if it's by a large margin. Because every game inevitably like this is susceptible to that. Like, if you're completely free to play, you're never going to be able to pull every character unless you have some kind of actual ungodly, like, game-breaking luck. Like, I have a friend who dropped Arknights, actually. And I think Arknights is generally pretty friendly to free to play. But he stopped playing Arknights because he didn't feel like he could get enough characters. So, it just depends. I've been trying to see the more positives on everything recently, because I think it's very easy to get kind of mired in the negatives of things. And life is what you make of it. Oh. Yeah, this is a beautiful area. It's really cool. Like, I don't know, in terms of, like, just physical design, I'm not even sure what I'd consider my favorite area. Like, it's really easy to find areas that, like, at the very least, exploration-wise, were terrible. Dragon Spine. Funnily enough, I think I got the achievement for... or the badge for doing the entirety of Dragon Spine. Because I did it with a friend in a Discord call. Because we found out it was terrible doing it in co-op. But... where is it? I think I have a character card for it. I just remember we did it because we never wanted to go... yeah, here it is. Because we never wanted to go back. But... yeah, I don't know. Like, visually wise, though, there's just so many stunning areas in this game. Super, super cool. I think with Fontaine, they did a good job. They do a good job, I think, too, with kind of making, like, a common motif. Or, like, theme for each area and really playing off of it. Like, super, super cool stuff, but as far as what else we'll do this stream, I just remembered I have an errand I need to run tonight. And then I have class tomorrow. I think I mentioned it before. If I was more serious about, like, getting full-time streaming, I am in a position where, thankfully, with classes, I take classes at night 3-4 times a week, and then I have homework. I could stream, you know, like morning, afternoon, those days, and then stream every day of the week. But half the time I don't even know what I'd stream. So I think what'll most likely happen for the foreseeable future, unless something changes, is I'll maybe do Wednesday streams like today on the weeks that, like, Star Rail or Genshin patches come out, which is like 2 weeks out of every 6 between the two. Because for me, those patches come out late night on Tuesday night. It's usually like 8, 9 p.m. So then I could do them, you know, Wednesday morning, and then I'll probably just other days and in general stream once or twice on weekends still. That's worked so far for me. I used to stream like 4 or 5 days a week when I was doing things like my Fire Emblem playthrough or Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But unless I find a game that I'd really like to pick up like that, I don't know how often it'll be. Anyways, I think the last thing we'll do, because I actually do need to go. I completely forgot about it. It's kind of important. I'd like to try out another team on this fight. So the weird thing is it said try bringing Cryo and then a Swirl element, which the first thing that always pops up in my mind would be Pyro. I know other things can swirl. This is not a good Ayaka team. Why did I name it Ayaka? When I made just this... Oh, it completely... When I made this, these team formats, it was when they first gave us these extra slots. So I just made a bunch and just kind of messed around with them. But what I think we want to do is bring a Cryo application character and maybe a Pyro character. I can't think of a good team for it. I don't run Melt. My Bennett isn't built, but I think normally in Melt people bring Bennett. I just want to, I want to see. I guess we could use Chevreuse.
A little extra training never hurts.
I just kind of want to see how it'll interact with freeze teams. I guess we could do like
Ayaka, present.
Ayaka Shenhe. I don't know the rotation for the team because I never use it.
Stand here, right?
And maybe I would think a Melt team would do well with Kazuha actually, but I almost never run this comp, like ever. I guess maybe we could bring Bennett. And the idea here would be to... It seems a bit redundant, I think, to have both Chevreuse and Bennett in a team. But, let's see. But, Ayaka's one of the characters, like Ayaka and Shenhe. When I pulled them, I thought I would use them a lot more, and then I just never ended up doing so. Before we do this, though, at the very least, I should probably switch their weapons back. Where is it? This one. I don't really pull on weapons anymore, though, in general. I just think it's not as worth it nowadays. Because the weapons, I think, they do make a difference DPS-wise. But kind of similar to what I was talking about, some people were having the issue recently, is I can clear the Spiral Abyss consistently. So, I should probably make better financial decisions than to get weapons. But it's kind of the same thing. It's easier for me actually not to do it in Star Rail because you don't even see it. Like, it's cool to see characters wielding their weapons here. You don't even see the light cone in Star Rail. And the only light cone I pulled on actually was Kafka's. Because at the time I wanted to test how good light cones would be. But I'm trying to remember what the rotations are for a team like this. I still don't know if I should be, ow. Oh, that did a lot of damage. I still don't know if I should be, like, I know that C6ing Bennett isn't a bad thing nowadays. Like, it's bad for some teams, right? Like, I was a big Eula player, so I never did it, because it's actively terrible for Eula team. But... okay, that's interesting. I know that, wow, I do not have good rotations or energy recharge on any of these characters. But, just interesting. So that's how I think, like, obviously these characters don't have good stats. I don't even know what my Ayaka has. 63 and 64 isn't bad, but she has, like, no energy recharge. And this team comp doesn't have a battery. But, like, my Chevreuse does not have max level relics, and I don't think my... oh, my Bennett does. I don't think they're good relics. Because I don't know if you're supposed to raise max HP on Bennett for the healing, or attack for the buff. I would assume most people just use them as a buffer. But, yeah. I honestly think if you have a built team that works with the boss mechanics, it's probably better to do that than anything else. But I think between using like a good team and not use and a brute force team that's stronger, like it was much faster to do it with our Navia team, and my Navia team isn't my strongest team by a long shot. That's kind of the issue I've had with like Spiral Abyss. Is oh, it resets in 8 hours. Like that's why I always just brute force like a Raiden Eula comp and my Hu Tao team comp. Because if worst comes to worst, it's like there was one Spiral Abyss rotation I had to throw like Ningguang in one of the comps for Geo application. But it's just difficult to get a team at that point that invested. But that's the nice thing about the overworld and stuff, right? Is you don't need a super invested team comp to do everything. So you can just kind of use your favorite characters for story quests. Like, at the end of the day, I know some people have argued that they need more endgame content. Like how Star Rail nowadays not only has MOC, they added something else recently similar, and they've added, like, Swarm Disaster and Golden Gears. I do think the game could benefit from something like that. I'll always call back to it. I don't remember what it was, but they had, like, a 3-floor roguelike, like, dungeon mode with buffs and blessings and stuff at one point in Genshin. And it was a one-time event. And I've honestly wondered if that's what they did to test, like, simulated universe, like that style. But Genshin could really benefit from a permanent mode like that. I know people always ask for permanent modes like that, and then a lot of times they don't play them. Like, I enjoyed Swarm Disaster, but I don't play it very much anymore. And I still occasionally play Golden Gears. But I just think extra endgame content like that could help. But to be honest, at the end of the day, Genshin still has a massive player base. And they keep adding wonderful new content with the new areas. So, it's up to them. It's development resources at the end of the day that they have to put in. But anyways, guys, I've been rambling for a while. After the story quest, I kind of just spent like 45 minutes doing whatever. But it's cool to see the new area. I just don't think it'd be fun to do the world quest on stream because it's kind of grindy. But anyways, guys, thanks for everyone who stopped by. You know, watch the VOD, watch the stream, and chatted. It's always fun to chat with people for me. That's ultimately the reason I stream these games. Is I really enjoy just rambling while I play games and just chatting with the people that stop by and, you know, talk about stuff. But it's a good time for me. But I will catch you guys next time. I will probably stream, like I was saying, Star Rail maybe next week when the patch comes out, depending what's in the patch. But Penacony will probably be a pretty big new area. And I'd like to do maybe a roguelike stream or something this weekend, but we'll see. I'll catch you guys next time, though. Bye.